What's going on, folks? JV Wins Dogon SS. We are back once again with another video. Major shouts out to everybody who's been checking in with us, subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button, leaving those comments. Let us know what you think about the content that we post to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. We do not take for granted the effort and commitment that is implied by hitting that subscribe button. Speaking as someone who does not subscribe to, I probably don't subscribe to 10% of the content that I consume on YouTube or any other channel. So for me to make the effort to hit that subscribe button shows a level of commitment that I have and a level of appreciation for whatever channel that I'm subscribing to. So for those of you out there who subscribe to our channel, we don't take it for granted. We certainly appreciate it. JV Wins Dogon SS right back in your ear once again. Before we get started, I do want to say, as always, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Just trying to be available in all places where possible. Also, you can now check us out on TikTok as we share a lot of our content over there on that platform as well. So if you find yourself more active on TikTok than YouTube, just search Con Approach just search us at Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. That is where we reside over on TikTok. So thank you, everybody. And if this is your first time checking out our channel, give us a watch or a listen. And if you like what you hear or see, subscribe to the channel, because this is how we like to kick it. This is how we get down each and every week, each and every day, each and every video upload. Now, with that out of the way, we can go ahead and dispense with the pleasantries and get right into it. First topic that we are going to talk about is Nelly, who is clapping back at a lot of his naysayers who keep bringing up the fact that he performed at Donald Trump's inaugural ball back in January. Another individual who seems to catch a lot of heat and take a lot of criticism for performing at a GOP/Trump event is Snoop Dogg, who has also had to address this several times in the past. But Nelly, he performed at the inaugural ball this January. There was a lot of controversy surrounding it. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people from the community, as well as a lot of anti-Trumpers and anti-Republican people, took issue with this. They feel as though it sends the wrong message for you to perform on behalf of any event associated with the Orange Man. And when given the opportunity, people are going to speak out against you and the fact that they don't like the fact that you elected to do this. And, Nelly has responded by saying, I'm not politically inclined. Me performing is in no way an endorsement of any particular candidate. I just respect the office, and I'm going to show my respect for the office by taking this check, because they do get paid to perform at said events. And, he's just not here for the slander. So once again, he is responding to all of the people who do not like the fact that he performed at Donald Trump's inaugural ball earlier this year. And he made a couple of interesting comments in relation to it by calling out Kamala Harris, saying, people like him and Snoop Dogg have done far more for his community than Kamala Harris has ever done. And he even called out the fact that Kamala Harris is not married to a member of the community. So I thought that was quite interesting. But this says Nelly calls out Kamala Harris for marrying a white man amid Donald Trump performance backlash. Nelly has been on the receiving end of some serious backlash ever since he performed at Donald Trump's inaugural ball in January, and he continues to fire back. Recently, for example, he wrote a lengthy message in the Shade Room's comments section. In it, he suggested that he's more pro-black than Kamala Harris. He also defended Snoop Dogg's decision to perform at Trump's crypto ball this year. I'll put whatever up on me and Snoop do more in the community and have been doing more for over 20 plus years against any of you that are on here just talking trash and have no stats to back up what you mean to the community. From the black families that we employ to the black children that we help every day and all year through our nonprofits. And on top of that, we are black men married to beautiful black women with black children, he continued. Should be inspiring to most, but some of y'all have a problem with because the prosecutor, who has probably locked up more blacks than we've helped women of color, um, with the white husband, did not win the election. Let me read that again because that's written weirdly. Should be inspiring to most, but some of y'all have a problem with because the prosecutor, who has probably locked up more black than we've helped women of color with the white husband, did not win the election. That was written very oddly, but I think y'all get the message.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, I reiterate, I did not campaign for anyone. I do not tell people who to vote for. I respect and love our country from top to bottom, good and bad. Nelly's latest remarks come after he discussed his controversial decision to perform at Trump's inaugural ball with Ebro Darden on Hot 97. He insisted that the performance was not necessarily a reflection of his political views, claiming that he didn't endorse anyone. What you have is respect for office. I never endorse any president, he said. And it's great how people spin narratives to best fit whatever they're against, he added, instead of giving a brother the exact fundamental of what he did and what he said. So that is Nelly saying his piece. So he is saying people like him and Snoop have done more for black people than Kamala Harris, who was a prosecutor and probably locked up more black people than the amount of people they've helped. And then he also pointed out that they're married, him and Snoop married to black women, whereas Kamala Harris married to a white guy. So what did you think of Nelly's comments there?
I feel as though, you know, I mean, of course, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but some level of hypocrisy in there, from the standpoint that, he only performed at the inauguration because he doesn't see any political sides or what have you. But him, throwing it off the backboard and doing the East Bay and dunking it all over Kamala for what she has not done for the community and saying that she's a prosecutor, slamming up black people. That kind of tells me where you stand at politically. So if you were a neutral person, you would dunk on both sides of the aisle, much like myself. Everybody gets it. Don't stand in the paint because I'm coming down the lane. So, however, it seems as though he's not dunking on Trump because, well, he's the winner and he paid him. But it still seems as though that he should have came at this another way if he's hollering that he's politically neutral. So since he came at it the way that he came, which I don't disagree with, you know, in the sense that, yeah, her prosecution record is absolutely disgusting. And for some of the things that she actually did, which is public record on how she colluded and got weird while she was in that position. Yeah, it doesn't speak well for how she viewed, the people in the state of California. So how would she have viewed the entire nation? On top of that, there's also clips out there floating around where, she's being asked about what would she do for black people when she gets in office, and she was like, well, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. I'm not going to do that. So she has a record out there that I agree with Nelly. However, if he's hollering at this, he's politically neutral. I would have taken my beef out with the shade room commenters another way, to stand on the fact that you're claiming that you're politically neutral. But because he took that stance, it doesn't seem like he's so neutral. It seems like he does agree with the side of the aisle that he also took a check from. So, not that I disagree with Nelly. Now, granted, Nelly has also done a large detriment to our community. So has Snoop Doggy Dogg. I remember late nights when I should have been going to sleep and getting ready for school. I'm sitting here watching Nelly slide credit cards down a woman's derriere. And so now that had an impact on me as a young person. Did I want to do that when I got older? No. Derivatives of it? Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that that video, amongst other things that Nelly has done, has also shrouded the minds of the youth that were coming up and put them down a lane of toxicity. So he may be able to speak on the fact that he's helped people out in his community and people in his own family, but the levels of detriment that he has done can't be quantified, because he has put out a level of toxicity amongst his music and music videos that I would say that also has done a number to our people. So how do I feel about this overall? I feel like they're both losers in my book. And they're both standing in the lane, and they're both about to get Vince Carter, and I'm about to hop all over them and slam it down their face. Now, what are your thoughts on Sir Nelly clapping back at the Shade Room comment section, saying that, hey, he's done more for Black people than Kamala ever has? What are your thoughts, bro?
I hear where he's coming from. I also hear where you're coming from. I think he brought up an interesting point when he mentioned the fact that Kamala Harris is married to a white guy. Now, if you ask me personally, and I've spoken on this channel before, I kind of feel like in this day and age, people are going to more frequently explore all of their options when it comes to who they choose to sleep with and marry and have children with. Personally, I am not offended by it, although I respect the opinions and views of others who feel some type of way about it. I don't feel that people who don't like it are in the wrong, nor do I feel like people who do explore options and swirl, do things interracially are necessarily in the right. I am a neutral party when it comes to this conversation. I kind of feel like people are going to do what they do, and I don't think that that is an assertion of their character if they elect to do so. However, the only reason why I do believe it's worth bringing up is because we are very much still living in a social climate in which the second a black man chooses to not be with a black woman, it becomes a matter of national discourse. Now, we want to question his blackness, his level of commitment, his level of responsibility, uh, his level of attachment to uplifting the community overall. Whenever we see that he is not with someone who looks like him, and we want to question his motives, we want to discover whether there's anything ulterior about it, whether there is anything ulterior about him, or whether there's anything inauthentic about him. Yet we never seem to pay that same level of scrutiny to women who do the same thing. So I do think it is worth mentioning because there is, to me, a very clear and glaring double standard when it comes to this stuff. And I have mentioned in the past, there are several examples to which I can point to this. Serena Williams famously seemed to have a penchant for being with men who were not black. She wasn't necessarily criticized for that I saw. She was more so celebrated for it. You have people like Halle Berry, who, while she was young and in her prime, was often with European men and white men. And now that she's older and well past her prime, she's with an older black man. But she spent a large portion of her childbearing years with men who were not black. I brought up Tika Sumpter is a pretty nice actress, a very attractive woman. I think very highly of Tika Sumpter. I think she looks real good. So if you don't know anyone who doesn't know who Tika Sumpter is, she played Kevin Hart's wife in the Ride Along movies. That's Tika Sumpter. Married to a white guy. You look at people like Patina Miller, who is the star of a television show that 50 Cent claims authentically represents Black and Latino communities. On Raising Canaan, she plays Canaan's mom on Raising Canaan, married to a white guy. And then you look at somebody like Malika Andrews, married to a white guy. Now, do I care that these women are married to white men? No, I don't. Except for when this type of conversation comes up, an individual in Nelly's position, were he married to a woman who's not black, would be getting absolutely destroyed. So there is clearly a double standard when it comes to stuff like that. Therefore, I do believe it is worth noting because women, black women who do marry outside, don't seem to face the same level of scrutiny. So it is worth pointing that out. Now, one can say black men have a higher burden of responsibility because it is a black man's responsibility to keep the wealth within the community, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then if that's true, and I am to believe the statistics that routinely get thrown in my face, that black women are outpacing black men in terms of earnings and income and career opportunities and education, then at that point, shouldn't there be a greater equivocation for that level of responsibility to community on the part of black men? I would say so. If they're earning just as much, if not more money, and they're in higher paying positions, they're clearly the most enrolled. They're the most involved in the modern day workforce, I would say, gainfully employed, then I would say there needs to be a level of responsibility accorded to them that at least in some way, shape, or form equivocates that level of responsibility for black men. So that you know argument to me doesn't wash. And then when you talk about um what a black man's responsibility is to his community with respect to who they choose to date and marry, um, that says to me that we still believe that black men retain a certain level of importance and responsibility when it comes to the household and the nuclear family unit. Yet at every turn, I seem to be engaging with content from people, women in very prominent positions in our society, who seem to spare no expense when given the opportunity to marginalize black men. Last week, we talked about Michelle Obama, who seems to relish in the opportunity to marginalize her husband and her marriage when given the opportunity on her own platform. And I would say that she has a very sizable audience and people who listen to her and will take a lot of what she says at face value. And she isn't the only one who speaks or lends credence to the idea that black men rather deserve to be not necessarily subjugated, but made diminutive when it comes to this conversation around culture and community and responsibility. There are others, but she's someone with a very sizable voice. And when she speaks, people listen. And for her to now routinely engage in dangerous rhetoric by marginalizing her husband and her marriage when given the opportunity, it suggests to me that she is someone who is, like you would say Nelly is, on one particular side of the aisle when it comes to the perception of black men and the place that they have within community. So, all I'm saying with all of this is let's keep the same energy and maintain a level of perceived responsibility for both men and women in this equation. And if women get to get off scot free, then so do men. And I don't believe anybody should get off scot free, but if they do, they all should be held accountable. And if women get off scot free, then men get let off scot free too. And so I do think it was worth it for Nelly to bring that up, because were Nelly not with a black woman, he'd be getting absolutely destroyed. There is a double standard with this, and I do think it was worth bringing up. Now, to your point, I agree with you. I think where Nelly loses me is he doesn't appear to be neutral. I kind of feel like if you truly are politically neutral, which of course I'm in favor of, because I dunk on blues and reds all day, every day.
all day.
I think that they are both I think they are both operating in the best interest against the people, not for them. So I dunk on them all day, every day. But if I were to accept a check to perform on behalf of one of them, optically it would look as though, in some way, shape, or form, uh, there's something about that side that I don't necessarily take issue with, hence me being there. And I think that if you truly were politically neutral, you just would say no and turn down the check. And I get it. Everybody get to a bag, blah, 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 blah. This is why I say money is everybody's God. People don't worship God anymore. They worship money. Money is their God. You know, to anyone who would naysay against what I just said, they'd probably point to the fact that Nelly went for the bag and got paid. Whatever, bro. If you're going to throw the money angle in my face, then I have nothing to say, because everybody go and get a bag and get money, whatever. But he himself said he is not for any particular candidate. He's neutral. He said that. If you truly are about that, you would live by it and you would turn down the check and you would not perform for anybody. You wouldn't do the inaugural ball, nor would you do the Cardi B Megan the Stallion thing and perform at a Kamala rally in Atlanta. You just play it neutral, decline it decline it at every turn, and just you know flex your muscles in ways that are truly impactful given your particular sphere of influence. But for him to perform at the Trump event, whether he's neutral or not, isn't a good look when juxtaposed to your own comments that you're neutral. So if you really are neutral, you'll turn it down. If you listen to what he says about his money's good. He shouldn't be in need of the money. He sold his catalog for, I think, $50 million. I don't think he's hurting for money. So one would surmise, if you aren't hurting for money and you are politically neutral, that you'd say thanks but no thanks when given the opportunity. But he took the check and performed. So I don't think it's out of bounds for people to look at that with a side eye. So I think he looks like a bit of a fool for going and then turning around and saying I'm neutral. But I also think people who criticize those in his position on the grounds of who they're married to are also foolish because there's a double standard in play because a lot of women in that position don't face that same level of scrutiny, her included. When she was campaigning, I was not online looking at a lot of people calling her out for being with a white guy. I wasn't. But let it be a black guy in that same position who is trying to be president and his wife is white, he'd be getting raked through the coals. There is very much a double standard for this stuff. So I do think it is warranted for that point to be brought up. But otherwise, I think he looks kind of corny for pray telling himself to be politically neutral when he still took the check and performed anyway.
Yeah, man. And and as far as the angle of, Kamala marrying a white man or whatever, I do see your point as far as the double standard is concerned. But that's, of course, man, that's life, man. Double standards, they go. And I think there's a fatigue amongst the population, because you know it's a pattern that's one would notice from people that are in prominent positions, that they do decide to marry outside, and it gets on people's nerves uh after seeing it over and over again. Growing up, I was fans of certain athletes or whatever, and then they'll cut to their wife and it's a white woman, and uh, cut to it's a white woman, and at some point it became a pattern of, oh, I guess when you get on, you get you a white one. I guess that's how it goes, and you see enough of it. And on top of it, there's statistics that back it up that per capitas, black men do go out of the race more than black women do. Some people may say this due to various options. All I'm saying is, okay, per capita, that you'll see that more statistically. And so you already know how it goes, man. If you're the minority in something, you can get away with anything. There's stuff that black people could say right now. A white man can't dare say that. That's just the double standard of being the oppressed class. So you get to do whatever the hell you want, more or less. So Kamala being air quote black and being a woman, nobody's gonna bring that up, that she's married that man for political alignments. I mean, she doesn't even bear kids from that man, which is also to me a sign to me, honestly, that she's not even in that marriage for that marriage, because her track record, not only with her, her prosecution record, she also has another record of being a woman who, what I'm saying, um, got her way to the top by getting on top, if you guys know what I'm saying. So she used this because she had a vision to have a political career, and that guy is just a stepping stone for her. That marriage doesn't feel real at all. It literally looks like a TV show thing. I see no bond, intimacy, or anything coming from them. And so he's just a placeholder, which ties into her fraudulent activities and behaviors, which made it hard for people to buy into her in the first place. So, yeah, there was a thing with her being married to a white dude, and no, she didn't catch any flack for that. Um, and but at the same time, you know, to throw that out, to throw that out and say that they're married to a white person, therefore they can't help black people. Uh, I don't know. That doesn't always register with me. And here's why. Because that's because Umar, he likes to get on that stuff too, and there's levels to it where I understand where that argument's coming from, but you know, black is the it's the dominant gene. It's what's happening, and if you raise your kids in a way where um they know who they are, you didn't really you didn't really go far with that, you know. And if on top of that, if you're helping your own people out still, even though you're married to somebody else from another community, you really can't throw too many stones at that.
They do
So
anyway. They still do.
yeah, so I my whole thing is that I feel as though that if the person is out, married outside, and they act outside, their behaviors and everything indicate that they are outside of the community, then at that point you can ridicule them. But if they're still doing stuff for their own people, even though they have a preference in bed, you know, whatever, man. So I don't really get into that. People gonna do what they gonna do anyway. So long as the people that are doing whatever that they're doing in their bedrooms are still looking out for humanity and still doing what I believe is the right thing towards whatever is going on out here in the world. And so if you're a black person and you want to sleep outside, yeah, have at it, man. So long as you're still taking care of indoor things. So for him to just blanketly throw that out there, because she's married to a white man, that to me that's low hanging fruit. I think the part about it that did resonate more was her track record of what she did with black people. So at that point, she not only is married to somebody outside of the community, but her track record also indicates that she don't really care much or hasn't really done much for the community. So my thing is, it's your footprint of what you do for the people, not what you do so much in your bedroom. But what you do in your bedroom can be an indicator. So that's why people like to, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. But I like to separate the two.
Sure. And if the world looked at it with that much nuance, we would be a much better place.
Wouldn't it be, man?
But but the world does not look at it with that much nuance. And
Hmm.
the vast majority of people look at it blanketly and they say it doesn't matter how you carry yourself, what your mannerisms and dispositions and positions on issues are. You married that person or you dated that person. Therefore, you are excommunicated from the community, and it doesn't matter what your contributions are. That is what the majority of us do. Now, I do think that there are certain people individually, there are certain people who look at it with some nuance and they'll be fair minded enough, reasonable enough to say it is what it is, but they do great work and their positions on certain things consistently resonate in positive ways.
Hmm.
But that is the stark minority. The majority amongst us look at that optically and they say, get this person out of here. It doesn't matter what he does, what he says, how he speaks, what he's behind. He's with that person or that person. He sleeps with that person or that person. You're dead to me. There is an absolutist mentality when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I think the majority of us approach it that way. Most people look at this issue the same way that most people participate in voting, which is single issue. Like most people gravitate towards one side or the other over a single issue. So if you're pro-choice, a person can be real shardy and have a bad track record when it comes to criminal justice and uh, have a very sketchy history when it comes to their rise to prominence in their career. but they campaign on pro-choice, and you care so much about pro-choice, you're gonna go to bat for that person no matter what. And that's how the majority of the people participate in this process. The majority of people are single issue. And I think when it comes to this, the majority of people are single issue, which is it doesn't matter what your track record is per se, but do you, as trivial as it sounds, people really do feel like this. It doesn't matter what your track record is. If you do not date and marry within community, it doesn't matter. We refuse to accept any and everything that you contribute to the world. So I do believe that the truth, as with a lot of these issues, is somewhere in the middle, but right now it is not. And the only reason why I don't blame Nelly for bringing that up, albeit being low hanging fruit, as you indicated, is because despite the fact that it is low hanging fruit, if it is a black man in that same position, he'd be getting called out for that 24/7. Right or wrong, fair or unfair, people would spare no expense to bring up the fact that his wife isn't black. So I'm saying call a spade a spade. And I hear the point that you made about when you're in the minority of something, you have more leeway, you can get away with more stuff. But I'm telling you, bro, if you look at any current statistic, um, black women are far outpacing black men in terms of education, income, depending on whatever graph or metric you look at. Education, income, black women are more enrolled, black women are more employed, black women are more, black women have a greater foothold in that middle to upper class tier of earning potential. When you're talking about people who are making in that 70 to 80 to 90K range,
Hmm.
all of the modern statistics point to black women far outpacing black men in those seats. So, I don't know how much of a minority they continue to be. And I and I don't know how much of a I don't know how much of the minority clause they will continue to be able to get away with. And I'm just saying, I'm not in favor of it either way. I don't think black guys should be held to that standard. I don't think black women should be held to that standard. Leave people alone and let the content of their character speak for itself. If you're doing good work in the community and you're truly helping people, you're not being shardy, and you are not backing um, things that work to the detriment of people, especially people in your own community. Who you are with, to me, is inconsequential, in my opinion. But given the way things are moving, in the direction that they're moving, in terms of the way this income situation is being set up, that double standard needs to cease to exist. And if you're going to continue to call out black men for that, I don't blame people like Nelly for saying, "Hey, at least I'm doing this," and y'all always call us out for doing it, and she ain't doing it. So why don't y'all hold her to that same standard? It is what it is. I think it's high time for that double standard to no longer be in existence, albeit I understand what you're saying because it still exists. But I don't blame him. I still think he's a clown, but I don't blame him for bringing that up because it certainly would be a point of order if he was in her position and he chose to accept that check.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about this is, you know, in this analogy, whoever you decide to marry represents the soil, your soil, and I don't care what you got going on, but you can plant in whatever soil you choose to. Okay, but it's all about the fruits that come out of that. And somebody can tell me all the best intent in the world that why they planted in that soil and why they planted over there. That's fine. I don't care why you did that. I'm going to tell by your fruits. And based upon your fruit, I can tell what's in that soil and what's lacking and what ain't there. So, and that can be for whether you married a black person or another
Right.
person or that kind of person. So I base people upon their fruits and not what they tell me. So, and one thing that Kamala's got going on is I wouldn't touch her fruit. I wouldn't touch her fruit at all. She is, or orange man. We already see what his fruit's producing. So yeah, man, both sides of the aisle is trash. But I'll just say this for people that want to get into the discussion of who people marry: is I don't care who you marry, I don't care where you plant your tree at. It better be growing fruit, and if it does grow fruit, it better be good ones. I say that.
Yeah, yeah. I just, be neutral for real, bro. I don't like, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth, accept the check, and then say you're neutral. Like, be neutral, bro. Don't go. Because if you go, it kind of suggests you're not neutral, even if they paid you. So I just don't like that. I kind of feel like you are, I kind of feel like you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. You get to hide behind the idea that you never endorse anybody. Hey, man, I'm neutral. I never endorse anybody, but you still get to take the check. Well, you'll be able to exercise that liberty into perpetuity and fully expect people to not call you out on that. I feel like that's unreasonable. Uh, but at the same time, I also get his point in bringing that up though, because he's not wrong about that. However, it is depending on the individual though. I look at a guy like Chappelle. Chappelle's married to a woman I believe is Filipino, so he's not married to his children are biracial. He's with a Filipino woman. He's never really had to deal with scrutiny because of that. But to your point, that's because of his fruit. So it just depends on the kind of work you're doing out here. But oftentimes, what disappoints me is not everybody is lucky enough to be in Chappelle's position. And I do think that there are a lot of us out here who are producing some pretty clean fruit and they still get killed for stuff like this. And I don't like that. So it's like if you're gonna kill them women who are doing it too, because it's all fair in love and war, as they like to say. Now,
Fair
if you
point.
leave it if it's up to me, everybody gets judged individually, and that should be irrelevant. But that's not the world that we currently live in.
Fair point. Fair point.
Yeah, and now on to some marital nonsense. I did want to bring this up on the channel today because it exemplifies the point that I have been trying to make when it comes to this ongoing conversation around modern relationships and the role that personal accountability must play in people understanding why they are in certain situations instead of always looking to blame the other person. This guy, the guy that you see there on our overlay, his name is Simon Gobadia or Gubadia. I'm not exactly sure the correct pronunciation for that, but we'll just go by Simon. Simon is his first name. He's a Nigerian businessman, and he was married to that young lady who you see there. Her name is Portia Williams. People who watch Real Housewives of Atlanta recognize her because that's her claim to fame: reality television and being on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She married this guy apparently, and now they're divorced. They weren't married very long, and he is having to come out of pocket in lieu of the divorce. And now he's crying foul, blaming her, saying that he feels as though he was targeted for financial reasons, and basically saying it's her fault and he's a victim. That's kind of what's going on here. So we'll go ahead and provide a little context real quick, and then we'll of course let him speak for himself. So this says Portia Williams' ex-husband Simon absolutely regrets their marriage. I was targeted for financial reasons. Portia Williams' ex-husband Simon absolutely regrets their short-lived marriage. The Nigerian-born businessman tells Page Six in an exclusive interview. In fact, Simon, who's 61, believes he was targeted for financial reasons by the Real Housewives of Atlanta star, who's 44. I kept asking, why did you file for a divorce? And she wouldn't say anything, Simon tells us, claiming he could not get in touch with her family either. This felt like a coup. I was totally blindsided, he laments, which Williams recently predicted he would feel. After Simon was unsuccessful with reaching any of Williams' loved ones, he admits he sent her a scathing text message that read, "This was a $5 million rehab project that I took on." Williams filed for divorce in February 2024 after 14 months of marriage. She told people earlier this week she had hired an immigration attorney in January 2024 after uncovering complex issues with Simon's legal status, noting that she felt the relationship was headed down a dark road. She said the two had a confrontation on Valentine's Day and that she filed for divorce just over a week later. So I'm going to skip those quotes because I'm going to actually play the video in which he says a lot of this stuff. Getting in, let's see, less than a week after going from a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facility where Simon spent a nightmare 4 months to his homeland, the judge overseeing his divorce from Williams finalized the dissolution of their marriage. Williams emerged victorious as the judge ruled in favor of upholding the terms of the former couple's prenuptial agreement. She'll receive $40,000 a month in alimony for the length of the marriage, which was 14 months. Simon tells us of the $560,000 total. She gets to stay in the marital house in Atlanta, all expenses paid, including the mortgage, for up to 36 months. And if she chooses to own the home, she would have to refinance the property in her name and give me, who's Simon, 50% equity in the home. As his reaction to the ruling, Simon, who has been married 3 times before, says with 1,000% certainty that the decision is going to be appealed. Let's see, is there anything else I want to read here? Williams told People the divorce was particularly difficult for Pilar, PJ, Jenna, 6, but Simon downplays their rapport when the topic comes up during our interview. I don't have a relationship with her daughter, explaining that he chooses to not get close to his romantic partner's kids because there's a tendency for them to use their children to get back at him, to try to come back into his life, and Portia is no exception. Let's see, what else? There's a part where it talks about who he was previously married to. I'll look for that, but I'll go ahead and exit out of here, and I'll present. I will present this so that we can hear this individual, Mr. Simon, talk about how he feels he was bamboozled by Real Housewife of Atlanta, Portia Williams.
You regret marrying her?
Absolutely. I said to her in one of my text messages to her, because she didn't respond because I kept asking, why did you file for divorce? And she wouldn't say anything. I tried to reach her mom. Her mom would not respond either. I later figured out this felt like a coup. When I don't know if you're familiar with. I'm familiar. I say it because I'm from Nigeria, and that we were ruled at one point by the military, and so every so often when you want to change leadership, the president, you stage a coup.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I was totally blindsided. I was no member of her family, whether on the mother's side, on the father's side, reached out to me. And the only person I actually reached out to was her mom, and she didn't respond. And so I essentially sent her a text message. I said this was a $5 million rehab project that I took on. She never shared her concerns or issues with me before filing for divorce. If you're married, I've been married quite a bit. I think I understand a little bit about the dynamics of. I should understand a little bit about the dynamics of a relationship. You discuss issues and say, hey, if this does not change or something does not happen, this is what might come of it.
Mm-hmm.
We never had those discussions, and I'm happy to share with you text messages where I was essentially blindsided by the divorce filing.
I was actually going to ask you if this was something that you saw coming, if conversations had been had prior. What do you think Portia's reason was to file for divorce?
I think I was targeted.
In what way?
I was targeted from day one for financial reasons. When I filed for divorce from my previous, ex-wife, she was in my DM praying for me. And I think I was in a vulnerable position at that time, and I entertained it, and so it just kind of snowballed from there. Getting engaged in 30 days. Who does that?
Exactly.
That was my goddamn mind. I've done that, and of course I'm paying dearly for it.
Yes, you are, sir. This
Unbelievable.
guy's a bonehead, bro. And for reference, I found what I was looking for. There was a part in the article
Mm.
which this is actually not his first rodeo uh, with a real housewife, let alone a reality chick. He was previously married to a woman named Phelan Williams.
Another
Um,
Williams? Hell no.
no, not Williams. I'm sorry, Phelan. It doesn't say what her. It
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
give her maiden name, so her first name is Phelan. But this Phelan woman is also someone who was on Real Housewives of Atlanta. You can't make this stuff up. Um, so this dude, this repeat Real Housewives of Atlanta offender, is now going, "Woe is me," because he feels like he was targeted for marrying his second Real Housewife of Atlanta, let alone his second reality TV personality. So I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it to tee you up anyway. Uh, do you feel his pain with any of this, sir?
Of course not, man. Of course not, man. I agree with you, man. This guy's a bonehead. Um, he's ripe for the taking. Ladies, I heard that this guy's divorced. Um, you might want to see him, send him a DM with some prayers. Uh, he might marry you in 6 months. Okay. This guy's an idiot, man. Absolute airhead, which actually um, adds credence to the whole fact that just because you got a bag and you a millionaire doesn't necessarily make you a smart person.
Yep.
Um,
Nor
and
nor 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 does it make you somebody. Nor does it make you a man who's good with women too. Clearly.
and nor does it make you somebody that stands on principles, because this guy clearly has none. Lusting after housewives, women that are on TV. I mean, you guys saw all those clips of this Portia lady, those devious eyes and all the things that she's got going on. How could you trust that? What what Yeah, he said I must have been out of my mind. Yeah, bro, clearly. Anybody. I only would have had to seen pictures of this lady, not even know what kind of life she lived and was on housewife TV shows. I just would have had to see pictures of her and go, you stay away from that. And so, but hey, man, this guy, he loved a game apparently. So yeah, so this guy here, absolute bonehead. I saw stuff floating online when they initially filed for the divorce. Um, and she was just stunting in his house, bro. Just kicked the man out, just stunting in them, got the whole family over having barbecues and you know what I'm saying, just doing the whole nine in a house that he bought, you know. And then just absolutely flexing on this man. And so, yeah, this was a coup, but this is how these type of women operate that look at men as a comeuppance. Um, and so there's a certain type of way they move, there's a certain type of way that they talk, dress, behave. And so she gives off all the telltale signs. And so um, for him to not be able to detect that, was already married to another one, and then just go ahead and do it again. Yeah, I mean, there's no level of sympathy that I can have for this man or anybody else that finds himself in this position. And even if I were to find myself in this position, as much as I claim that I know, and I end up getting bamboozled and a coup was staged on me, one thing that you won't see me is doing, getting online and complaining about it. Some people got to just learn how to take their L's and grow the hell up. And this is an L. Yeah, everybody saw it. But you running around here saying, woe is me, and sitting there crying and saying that I was blindsided, I was this, I was that. Man, nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Is this a messed up situation? It is. But how messed up do you have to be dealing with somebody like this? And last thing I'll say before I let you go, I think that this Portia girl was friends with that other girl, which also makes this a extra deviant situation. So this was, yeah, it was just, he had eyes on this lady here apparently. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he thought he was gonna level up in life, I guess. I guess her BBL's bigger, or I don't know what's going on here with this. But I guess he felt like he was going to level up, but he ended up getting leveled out. So yeah, man, way to go, Mr. Simon. You're the latest version of how to play yourself. But what are your thoughts, man, on this Simon dude running around here crying foul, saying that a coup was staged on him and he was blindsided by all of this? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yep, I don't have anything to add to what you said. All of that is, and I am in agreement with 100%. This is yet another edition in the ongoing Conscious Approach series of where choosing goes wrong and how to not have accountability, which is why I choose to talk about this stuff, because the pathology behind these kinds of decisions needs to be highlighted in order to hopefully help people understand how their particular lot in life is largely due to their own doing. It is not the world's fault. If you're a man, where you are is not because of women. If you're a woman, what you're dealing with is not because of men. It is because of you. Learn how to make better decisions. Learn how to make better choices. You'll find yourself in a different situation. You continue to engage in your own insanity and make the same choices repeatedly. You find yourself in the same situation. That is a you problem. That is not the world's problem. So, from that standpoint, I agree with everything that you said. This guy is an absolute clown. He makes all men look bad. It's embarrassing to see a guy in his position who claims to be successful in life on Front Street looking like a cuck, honestly. And furthermore, I will say this. This is why red pill content is something that needs to be vetted. If you're a single guy out there and you're trying to figure out how to navigate the modern dating world, you need to be very cautious with the kind of content that you consume on a regular basis. And the reason why I bring that up is because not all red pill content is there. There is a very fine line between red pill and anti-woman. There's a fine line. And oftentimes with a lot of these content creators and these platforms online that claim to be red pill and claim to be putting men up on game, they're actually anti-woman platforms masquerading as red pill. They're not truly red pill. And the problem that I have with some red pill platforms is guys like this will get onto those platforms and complain about women. And those platforms will never do their due diligence to get into the sordid decisions that certain guys make, which sort of facilitates them being in the position that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy like this Simon guy will get on one of these podcasts or they'll get on one of these shows and they will proceed to blame women for why everything is wrong with the world, not taking into accountability the fact that you have a track record for choosing to seriously date and marry reality TV women, as if those are the only women in the world. So whose fault is that, bro? Is that the world's fault? That's women's fault? Or is that your fault? You could have chosen the litany of the billions of other women out there to get married to. You chose to be with not one, but two reality TV stars. And then you're saying you're the one who was targeted? And then because he's feeling bamboozled, he'll get onto a podcast and he'll be the first person to talk about the things that men need to look out for and how to not trust women. You're the wrong person to listen to, man, because you make poor choices. For real, like you make poor choices. So those are the dangers with consuming a lot of that content, is you never know who's giving the message. And you have to be conscientious of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with a lot of these women who go on their man bashing tirades, talking about how all men do this and all men do that, all men cheat, all men are dogs, all of these men are outside. I was listening to Who Kid over the weekend, and Cardi B put out a new single talking about how she outside. And she's talking about how she outside and all these men are dogs. You were married to Offset. A
Right.
guy who's a dog.
Right.
You chose to marry him. Whose fault is that? You didn't know his tendencies before you got with him, but she'll spread her disingenuous gospel through the masses of women who are going to digest that as if it's truthful. And if that's a general, reasonable litmus on how all men behave and operate. No, it isn't. It's a litmus on how the men you deal with operate. So you need to take inventory of the kind of men you deal with if you want to change your situation.
Correct.
Too many people out here don't take accountability for this kind of stuff. They blame everybody else. There's too much projection. And this fool is the next example, the latest example of weak-willed, blue-pilled men who blame women when they're the reason they're in the situation they're in. You didn't learn your first lesson with the first housewife? I don't get it. I don't get it. And look, I am not a white knighter. I am not a white knighter.
Are you sure about that?
I call everybody out. I call everybody out. I hold everybody accountable. But what is starting to really grate my gears, and it's starting to really piss me off, is to see these weirdos, self-righteous morons get on the internet and get on social media to complain about the whims of the opposite sex, as if they have no agency over who they choose to be with and the circumstances that they find themselves in. Pick somebody else, choose differently. But you can't get out of your own way, so you'll continue to make the same decisions. And then you will elect to blame everybody else for your poor decision making. So that is a word to the wise for anybody out there who finds themselves routinely blaming everybody else for their problems, especially when it comes to this relationship stuff, because there's perhaps no form of content that gets greater spins on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram than these relationship platforms. That is getting served up on the algorithm more than anything else, because everybody got an opinion, everybody got something to say, everybody has viewpoints on why they're in the circumstance and the predicament that they're in. And 95% of the time, it's these dudes do this or these women do this. All these guys are outside. Women are for the streets. Don't trust this. Don't trust that. How about you need to trust yourself to make better choices? How about that? But that's not the world that we live in. That's too much nuance, and that makes too much sense for a lot of y'all out there. But what I will say is be wary of the kind of information that you consume. Vet the messenger, because if the messenger is a person like this or somebody like Safari, whose track record suggests this is not the type of person to be taking any sort of relationship insight from, Shannon Sharp, I would suggest that you steer clear of listening to people like that. They ought not to be listened to. You must always take inventory and accountability on yourself first before choosing to blame outwardly.
Yeah, well said, bro. But one thing about it, man, that accountability is something that everybody struggles with. There's a whole thing right now going on TikTok, at least, where they'll air out a woman for not being accountable, rightfully so. But the comments that say 100 women versus accountability, and it's one of those things where it's not just women that are not. Here comes the white knight. It's not just women that are not being accountable. It's the dudes, and for the reasons that you stated. And I'll go even further. There's a lot of men that are out here that are balancing and doing their thing and holding it down. And I'm not talking about those dudes, but I'm talking about those dudes that you talking about, where they're just out here just upset, just foaming at the mouth like they got rabies. All right. And it's because they have a misconception of what it is to be a man in the first place, of what a man should be getting, what he should be doing first, and to be getting back in return, okay, from said women. All right. And so they have these lofty expectations, no different than a woman, these lofty expectations of what a woman need to be doing for them just because he's a man. And it's just like, okay, bro, just because you're a man don't mean you deserve X, Y, and Z from a woman. Like you gotta walk and step into that energy to receive all of that stuff that you asking for. But you're not gonna get those things by, figuratively speaking, sitting on a couch. Man, you can have a nice paying job, bro, and you're figuratively sitting on a couch. And the reason why I'm going there with it is because, as I mentioned on here on numerous occasions, man, on how society is set up. Now, you like to call it slave culture, what's going on over here in the United States. But a lot of men, even if you have a nice paying job, bro, you're not doing what it means to be a man. You just have a high salary slavery position. And men are equating what they make to what it is to be a man. And much like how I'm about to go there with it, bro. But much like how people talk about the patriarchy and stuff, all right, the patriarchy it did do a number on men too, because now they feel entitled to have certain things without actually doing this stuff to make you a man.
Yeah.
And so they're running around here, and that's when you get all of these, soy boys running around here talking about they red pill and that a woman need to cook and clean for him, and he can't do nothing for his damn self. And so, so you got a lot of that. So that's where you're getting to the point where it's like, hey, and that's what I'm saying. Even if you make a lot of money, perfect example, this dude right here, you know what I'm saying? A millionaire, probably self-made. Yep. And he's still an idiot. He still don't know how to be a man.
Still don't get it.
Grown ass man in his 60s. Yeah, in his 60s.
Yeah. Yep.
He still don't know how to be a man. So much so that he's running around here chasing after BBL housewives. This man's out of his damn mind. From the motherland of all places, too. You know what I'm saying? So it don't matter, apparently, culturally either. You're going to have to know what it means to be a man. And this guy's not doing it. And a lot of people here in the United States don't know what it means to be a man. So my point is that people got to do research, man. People really got to do some research and study life. By studying life, you're studying yourself. And then by there, you will know what it takes for you to plug those holes in your own life. So those little areas that you was being immature and unaccountable for, you can plug those gaps and be a man. And for the same thing for women. And if you learn who you are and you figure out what's going on, you do some studying, some research. Don't be listening to all these bad bees out here telling you what and what not to do. They ain't got no man. They ain't got no husband. And they will never have one. So do some research, find out who you are. All of the stuff when we talk about, man, don't follow the masses and all that stuff. This is all of it in one. Mm-hmm. And so men and women need to know what it means to be a man, and women need to know what it means to be a woman. And that's why rates right now, marriage, are so low. That's why families are in disarray, because men don't know how to be a man and women don't know how to be women. And right here is a prime example of two knuckleheads. You know what I'm saying? But as you always like to talk about, it's the man that has the key. He holds the key to this marriage thing.
He's the gatekeeper. That's right.
And so he is the biggest idiot, even though they're both idiots. He's the biggest because he's just signed his life away. And honestly, wouldn't be surprised if he do it again.
He can't get out of his own way. That's the thing. He can't get out of his own way. He'll do it again. He will do it again. And when the you know what hits the fan, it'll be her fault. He'll be singing the same tune.
Yeah, cry me a river, bro. You know what I'm saying? Cry me a river, man. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, I heard you still got millions, bro. I got a bridge I'm trying to sell you, bro. That connects from here to Nigeria, bro. So send me some mills, bro, so we can invest in that.
Hey, look, man, I remember a classic stand-up by Chris Rock back in the 90s. I think it was the 90s, Bigger and Blacker, I think. It was either Bigger and Blacker, and Never Scared. Chris Rock was talking about Siegfried and Roy. The tiger bit Roy in the face or something like this, and people was mad at the tiger, and Chris Rock was like, the tiger The tiger didn't go crazy. The tiger went tiger. That's what tigers do. They bite you in the face. And the thing about it is, you know, you're dating sex workers, you're dating women who do OnlyFans, you want to date Instagram models, socialites, reality TV stars, industry women. You're trying to turn a feral cat into a house cat. And I mean, the math just doesn't math in that regard. And when that feral cat goes feral on you, you want to get upset as if you did not have a choice in trying to turn that feral cat into a house cat. We all play a role in this situation. We're all responsible. We all make an assortment of choices. There is a dire need for us as people to do a better job of maintaining some self-awareness and hold ourselves accountable for a lot of this stuff. And we are doing a very poor job of that. A very poor job of that. It's disgusting. So he will do this again because he can't get out of his own way. He is just as insane as a lot of the women who are on the opposite end of the spectrum to him, who can't help themselves but date from a profile the kind of man who offers the complete opposite of stability, but then complain that men don't offer stability. Men do offer stability. You just don't know how to identify the ones who do. And that's a you problem.
Correct.
That is not a man problem. It's ridiculous. And the last thing that I'll say is, you talk about people not knowing how to be a man, how to be a woman, people who've just lost their way. I completely agree. And that's because we have ceded all individual agency to money. Like, I don't joke when I say money is our God now. Money is the thing that we worship. So we have relinquished identifying some of the intrinsic qualities that do make a man and do make a woman. And we've streamlined the process to now, how much do you make?
Right.
How much do you earn? What's your income? You're not making this much, or you're not manning enough.
Right.
That's what we relegated it to. And that's the problem. So a lot of soy boys who make money drink this Kool-Aid, and they now believe that they are manning at the highest level because of the money they make.
Correct.
And it couldn't be the furthest from the truth. So long as we equate value and self-worth to income and money, which is where we currently are in society, and everybody's doing it, men do it, the women acquiesce to it, we'll continue to lose our way. But convince that to a person like him or her, who believe that if you ain't getting to a certain kind of bag, you're actually something that's worth less than a human. It's sad, but that's where we are with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, just the Diddler trial should prove a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of people that were getting to the bag that was rolling around in that baby oil allegedly with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And hiring escorts named the Punisher. And all of that stuff. And everybody that, not everybody, but a lot of people that were around the Diddler when he was growing up and when he was getting on and stuff, and even when he was already on, he couldn't talk to women. As many women as he's had that he paid for and stuff like that or whatever, he still couldn't talk to them. So you ain't even nowhere close to being a man if you don't know how to talk to a woman. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, no matter what your money or your status is, man, that has nothing to do about who you is as a person. And so this guy found out the cold way. And but yeah, fellas out there, man, if your bank account don't look like these people, don't sell yourself short. Stand on your business, man. You know what it means to be a man, and keep standing in that, and keep preaching that, and keep living by it. These people out here that's all flashy and all this other stuff, man, you see what's going on in their house. Yeah. They don't have a clue what the hell's going on. They got cool staged against them. So stand on business, be who you are, man, and don't let these bank accounts define who you are.
Yeah, facts. This guy's an embarrassment to men everywhere. But unfortunately, there's far more where that came from. So it's a sad state of affairs, but I'm going to continue to bring up these kinds of topics because I think humans in general, but men more specifically, need to understand the value of accountability. It is not the world's fault. People need to take inventory of their own choices.
100, 100.
And
Speaking
now
of,
in a bit, I know, right? This is a very sad development. Um, I try to root for this guy. I really do. I try to root for him. He's making it hard for me to do that, though. Malik Beasley, who just came off of his best season as a pro, playing for the Pistons, who I predict are going to be one of the two best teams in the East next year, is now being investigated for gambling and influencing NBA prop bets. This is probably the worst thing that can happen to somebody who's an active player. It doesn't really get much worse than that. And he's a free agent. He was currently, well, I believe that like he had a deal in place with the Pistons, an extension. And that has, of course, been pulled due to what's going on with him currently. So this says Malik Beasley reportedly under investigation for alleged NBA gambling prop bets. NBA player Malik Beasley is reportedly being investigated for allegedly gambling on NBA games. ESPN's Shams Charania reports that the U.S. District Attorney's Office is looking into allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets. So there's Shams' tweet. The U.S. District Attorney is investigating Detroit Pistons guard Malik Beasley on allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets. Sources told ESPN serious development surrounding one of the top NBA free agents. Beasley's attorney, Steve Haney, responded to the allegations in a statement to ESPN and stressed that the NBA player has not been charged with anything. An investigation is not a charge. Malik is afforded the same right of the presumption of innocence as anyone else under the U.S. Constitution. As of now, he has not been charged with anything. News about Beasley's allegations comes amid his serious talks with the Detroit Pistons about a 3-year, $42 million contract to bring him back. According to ESPN sources, the talks are now paused, presumably due to the allegation. Last season, Beasley averaged 16 a game. And he actually played, let's see, points per game across the 82-game series. Okay. It didn't say, I thought it said he played all 82 games, but it just said that's just the amount of games in a season. Last year, Jonte Porter pleaded guilty for his involvement in a betting scheme. In March 2024, the NBA announced it was investigating prop bet irregularities surrounding a game where an unusually large number of prop bets were placed on Porter. In the game, he played for 4 minutes before being ruled out for the rest of the game because of a re-aggravated eye injury. DraftKings Sportsbook discovered that the biggest money winner on early props that night were unders for Porter's three-pointers. So Jonte Porter is the brother of Michael Porter Jr., I believe. And I believe he received a permanent NBA ban for that. I'm pretty sure. I remember that from last year. So, yeah, bro, this isn't a good look from Malik Beasley, obviously. I thought about you when I saw this story because I fight against you when it comes to, like, sports games being
manipulated.
I fight against you for that, not because I think you're wrong, but because I just hold on to sports being something that I can rely upon as authentic. And that's the reason why. It's just because I want it to not be true, not because I believe that you're wrong. But yeah, what do you think about this latest situation with Malik Beasley?
Yeah, man, I'm with you, bro. I'm a fan of the guy. FSU alum, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I'm a fan of the guy. Wasn't so much a fan of the Larsa Pippen thing, but but that shows you his decision making skills.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm saying? You know, I appreciated his game. I felt like, yeah, this year, man, he really stepped it up. 16 and a half points a game off the bench at that. The guy was balling, man. But I can't explain why he would throw it all away. I don't know what kind of side money you're making when you're making millions of dollars already. And when you're already, this whole season, he knew he was up for contract negotiations, where you're going to be making tens of millions of dollars a year. Why risk that? Like, honestly, at this rate, if he's guilty, if he was actually doing this, who would have said he would have stopped? And it's like, bro, you're already making tens of millions of dollars. Why are you at that point? I don't know what that's about. Unfortunately, I don't think he's the only guy. I be prop betting, bro. And some of them things be so sketchy, bro. It be so sketchy. Like you're following a dude. I mean, the prop is, I don't know, 9.5 points. And it's like, okay. I mean, first quarter, the Bastards got 7. I'm like, oh, that was clean. I'm about to rake this in. And second quarter goes by, third quarter gets into foul trouble or something weird. I don't know. I'm just looking. I'm like, bro, you still on 7? I come back third quarter, you still at 7? You know what I'm saying? Fourth quarter, he hits a regular layup. He's got 9. He ends the game at 9. I said, bro, you had 7 points in the first 4 minutes. What the hell's going on? It's a lot of that. NFL too, man. NFL too, man. So I'm not limited to just basketball. Basketball, they're the ones that's really like, honing in on this, but I'm not limited to basketball or football. All right. So it's probably spanning across all sports. Why are these guys doing it? I have no idea, but guys taking dives for gambling reasons is nothing new in athletics. Hell, man, I don't know where I used to hear these things, or I don't know if it was like TV shows or something where, the goons will come up to the guys, that playing basketball, and it was like, hey, man, you got to take a dive in this game, or you got to sell the game, and the person will have to sell the game, or they were in on the mob was going to beat them up with it. That's been going on, I would say, in sports for a lot.
Yeah.
It's not every athlete, it's not every team, but it happens for people who get in with that, And so, for whatever reason, Malik Beasley, making, I'm pretty sure he's making tens of millions of dollars as of late. I mean, just jeopardizing $42 million. Well, I mean, what an easy bag. For what? $20,000 prop bet. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid, man. So, but unfortunately, man, I don't think this is rare. I think this is more common than people would like to think. And he's the biggest name so far. Now, normally they'll just muck around with a Jonte Porter, and some other names or whatever. Or hell, the NFL, who they suspended Calvin Ridley for a whole season, I think, for just having an account or making some side, but they didn't get in too deep with it. But it'll happen over there too. So these guys are taking chances that I just don't understand. The entire internet is pulling up clips with him just staying stagnant on defense. Some real sus play.
Right. Now everything is up for debate. Yeah,
man. So I'm just telling you right now, there's going to be a lot more people watching nowadays because there's a lot of people who prop bet. Myself included, and I know there's a lot of people that be upset about their parlays because some sketchy stuff be going on. So trust and believe, man. If there's some type of hotline that us gamblers can call and say, hey, man, investigate this bastard because I think he's taking a dive. Man, because we need to report these guys. But hey, man, with the evolution of sports books and everything like this, there's going to be even more of an intense microscope on these guys. But what are your thoughts, man, on Mike Beasley running around here potentially jeopardizing it all by gambling on his own games?
I hope he's innocent of all of it. I do. I have bagged on Malik Beasley from time to time for his aforementioned questionable decision making, specifically with respect to Larsa Pippen. But I root for him. Florida State, of course. Florida State, previous star at FSU. I'm an alum. I usually root for the Florida State athletes, and so I don't want to see him fail. But this isn't a good look. And I laugh when you bring it up, but I was actually going to mention it. I was going to mention the Larsa Pippen thing. I'm not going to make too big of an issue. I'm not going to make too big of a correlation, rather. But I will say that I felt as though him getting with Larsa Pippen was a reflection of his suspect decision making habits.
Yes.
And I do think that this is right in line with an individual who is prone to making suspect decisions.
Yes.
So there's a correlation there, in my opinion.
I mean, look at Marcus Jordan, bro.
You're right. Yeah.
Incredible decision maker.
Right.
Man.
So I'm not trying to make this about the women that Malik Beasley is with, but people are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And your decision making shows itself in different contexts.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being who you choose to be with, and another one being whether you choose to actively gamble on games in the sport that you play in. If you choose to do that, it's a questionable, shaky decision. I don't like this just from a sports fan standpoint. Sports is like the last vestige for me. I've given up everything else. I'm no longer, I no longer have the connection to music that I once had. I no longer have the connection to television that I once had.
Yes.
I no longer have the connection to movies that I once had.
Yeah, man.
I don't play video games anymore. I stopped doing that. I no longer have the connection to gaming that I once had. The only thing that I really have left is sports. And it's because that's the only thing that I have left that I hold on to dear life. And I sort of balk at the idea that the sanctity of my sports is being compromised, even though deep down inside, I do know that that is true. I just don't want to acknowledge it out loud because I feel like if I acknowledge it out loud, I'd be actively giving up at that point.
Yeah, man, give it up. Give it up, bro.
It's the last thing I got left, man. It is. And this hurts me because it perpetuates the notion that ain't nothing out here sacred anymore. Nothing's sacred. And there's always been weird, shaky stuff going on with sports. I'm well aware of Tim Donaghy and people like Pete Rose. Like, I get it. There's always been weird stuff going on. But you were always able to cast those things off as rogue agents.
Mm-hmm.
Now I kind of feel like rogue agents are less rogue now. It's more so becoming a commonplace theme where people are just doing this kind of stuff, compromising the integrity of the sport. And that's kind of what bothers me, man. And yeah, I was going through the list and I was looking through. Calvin Ridley was suspended for an entire season in 2022 for betting on games.
Yep.
Jamison Williams, who's a great player, was suspended for 6 games for betting on games.
Yep.
And so, you got a lot of this stuff going on, bro. It's wild, man. It sucks. I don't like it, but this is the world that we live in, man. And if I am to make a larger societal point, I'll make one very briefly. You brought up you're already in contention to earn $42 million. You just came off your best season and you're about to make tens of millions of dollars. Why jeopardize that over whatever the value of coming out on the better end of these bets was, 20, 50, 100K, whatever it is, it pales in comparison to the kind of money you were about to be paid by the Pistons, if this comes out to be true. And I think part of what goes into people's decisions to do this is our slavish devotion to get into the bag. Like we've reached a point in the world where there's just no amount of money that's enough. So we simp over getting to a bag so much that it doesn't matter how much we're making or how much we're set to make. It's just not enough. And we can't pass up the opportunity to get just a little more cheese put on the taco because we just got to get more and more and more and more and more and more because there's just no bag that's big enough so that these guys can continue to do whatever they do. Well, I'm not trying to speculate on their respective lifestyles or what they want to do with the money. I can guess if I want to, but I'll leave it short of saying that we really have sold our souls to the proverbial devil when it comes to the pursuit of the bag. And I think this is emblematic of that, because you can be somebody who's about to make $42 million on a 3-year deal. What's the math on that? What's that, 18 million a year? What's the math on 42 million over 3 years?
Let me get
Right? Like that's a decent amount of money per year. It's something like that, yeah. So,
Yeah, 14.
14, yeah,
Yeah.
man, 14 million a season, bro. But like I said, we've sold our soul to the proverbial devil, and that devil is the bag. And when you've done that, you've written you've etched your name in blood on that stone. No amount of money is enough, and there's no check that's big enough, and there's no bet that's beneath you, in order to continue to keep having the money come in. So, there is no answer to this, because I feel like we're just going to continue to have this slavish, blind devotion to the bag. But that's just pretty much what I peel away from it. I hope it's not true, but it doesn't look good for them.
Yeah, man. I probably asked you this before. Did you see Fight Club, bro?
Yeah. With Brad Pitt, Fight Club with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, man.
Movie, yeah.
Awesome movie, bro. Love that movie, man.
Yeah.
And one of the most powerful quotes, man, in there, man. He said, "The things you own end up owning you." And he said, "It's only after you lose everything you're free to do anything, bro." And one thing about it, bro, you not being in the video games no more, movies, music, and you're holding on to special last thing, man. That was old boy's apartment he was holding on to. And then when it blew up, Brad Pitt was like, "Ah, shit, man, now it's all gone." Yeah. And once you, because I'm telling you, bro, these trappings that they got us in, bro. Now, see, here's the thing. I like sports. I watch it, but I also, me personally, I'll just say for me, me personally, I think it's a WWE drama. And so, yeah, man, I used to, I was a big WCW fan, bro. So I was sitting there watching it, man, and those guys are doing what they doing, and I'm invested, bro. You know what I'm saying? Diamond Dallas Page and all the NWO, and the drama going on with Hogan and them. And I'm like, damn, bro, what's going on? I know it's fake. But I'm invested, bro. And so there's a level of fandom that you can still have for watching a stage drama. Like a lot of girls know that these reality shows are straight up fake. They know that. A lot of them know that, but some of them, like watching the train wreck. They like watching the drama. They know that's not a real fight, but she's not gonna not laugh when that girl splashed her in the face with the drink. So for me, I know that some of these games be a little wonky sometimes, but hey, man, that guy took off from the free throw line and he really dunked on that, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm still hop up on my seat like, oh, snap. That's top turnbuckle, man.
Yeah.
So I can still watch it, and while I'm watching it, I'll gamble on it. And that's me personally. I'll gamble on it. And if I'm as because see, they play ego games with my intuition. See, I'd be feeling like, oh, y'all gonna do this, so I'll bet on that, And so I like betting on, even though I know it's some fishy business going on. So that's the little game that I play. The only thing that's really keeping me from watching it now is the gambling, to be honest. If it wasn't for the gambling, because it was some years, bro, I just was not watching anything. I wasn't watching NFL or NBA. I still watch college, but I wasn't watching anything professional. It was a good little stretch. And then once I started getting on DraftKings and stuff, man, I started, I was like, hey, man, well, I got to watch what I just invested in.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'll just say this, man. You can still hold on to things, bro, and, do your thing with that, bro. Just try to watch it. But me personally, man, I gave up on all of these things because I honestly feel as though that they got people by, I personally feel like it's a mechanism of control. in the sense that people invest so much of their time, energy. Man, when I was a kid, bro, I used to collect cards, sit there and read the stats
Yeah.
all day. I thought it was
Yeah.
something. I thought I had to be an almanac for sports. I was investing so much of my life into that. And
Yeah.
then, in the grand scheme of things, we grow up, you go, I should have been learning more about the countries of the world than, how many doubles Charles Barkley had in 1993. And so at this point, I just feel as though, these things tearing off at the seams, man. It's the illusion just falling by the wayside, bro. It was
Yeah.
only so long they can keep this charade up, and them outing some of these guys to me is more hogwash. It's more guys.
Yeah.
It's more guys. You saw the thing. Last thing I said. You saw the thing last in this current playoffs where Draymond Green was sitting there hollering what the spread was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was sitting there hollering what the spread was, and
I thought that was very, yeah, that caught me off guard. It did. I ain't gonna lie. On national television, I thought
but this is how brazen these guys are.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? At least the old heads back in the day had some decorum. These young guys, man, they acting like they trapping out there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same old thing, self-snitching. So, hey, man, it is what it is with these guys. I gave up the sport as one of those things. I just play it as a genuine form of entertainment now. I just watch it for a genuine form of entertainment, but it used to be my life, man. And I'm glad I gave it up in that capacity, but now the gambling bugs got me.
Yeah.
So follow me on DraftKings, man. You know what I'm saying? Send me an app, bro. I'll take your cash pronto. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. So I'm sorry to see that Beasley's gonna lose out of the bag, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, you have the right idea. You do. I get it. It's just it's the one thing that I used to be able to depend upon as real in my life that I consume for entertainment purposes.
I feel that.
Because I always accepted the movies were fake, and I always accepted the TV was fake, and I knew the video games were fake. But it was like sports is the one thing that's compelling to me that's authentic. But now it just looks like I got to lump sports in with everything else, which is just an adjustment that I'll have to make. I mean, if I was willing, when I was a kid, of course, and I was into all of the nerd stuff. I was big into Star Wars and whatnot. I collected a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At the height of Pokemon cards in the late 90s, I was the king of Pokemon cards. I had so many Pokemon cards. I spent a lot of money on that stuff. And that stuff had value to me. It had value to me, albeit it being fantasy fair. It was just fake. It was video game, anime, manga stuff. But I was cool with that because I embraced it as this is my entertainment hobby and whatever the case. So it just kind of looks like I got to lump sports in with that. It is what it is. It's just the way that it has become so obvious now, with guys talking about it so openly. To me, it's like it's like they're making a mockery of it. And it just kind of makes me feel like I should have never invested in it so emotionally in the first place. Going all the way back to when I was a child. So I kind of feel like I was taken for a ride. And it sucked, but
Hey man, this stage is of grief, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get frustrated. You gotta go through all those stages, man. But you come out on the other side,
Yeah.
On the better end, man. But hey, don't let me taint you, bro. I'm the
no,
10th
no,
man.
It is what it is. It is what it is, man. It sucks though. It is what it is, but it's unfortunate. And they're gonna have to get a handle on how to regulate this stuff better.
I don't know how they're going to.
I don't know either. But right now it's just the wild, wild west. It's so deregulated. It's like NIL transfer portal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like college football is just a shootout at the OK Corral right now. And I don't know how you stop that. How do you stop or put guardrails around, players wanting to leave and, outside influences inflating the value of certain programs because they can. I mean, I don't know how you can stop that, but clearly there's just no more purity or sanctity in sports, and sports was the final vestige. And so now everything is just entertainment fair. And
It's the Roman Coliseum, bro. You know, it's there to distract the people. So, you know, the veil coming off is a good thing, man. So now we can get back to stuff that actually matters.
I need, yeah, I guess I just need something to get away from the world for a change. Like this stuff be killing my vibe. I ain't trying to be dealing with the world 24/7. That's why I go to sports. But if sports is fake, it kind of just puts a dimmer on it a bit. But
Yeah,
whatever, it is what it is, man.
hey, man.
I'll learn to adjust to it.
Hey,
I,
man.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Hey, best of luck to you, Beasley, man. Beat those allegations, bro. I
Yeah,
believe in you.
for real. Yeah. And now we have an interesting exchange between Joey Badass and Gilly the Kid. So this was during Gilly and Wallow, right?
Yeah.
This was during an episode of Gilly and Wallow?
Mm-hmm.
So Gilly and Wallow, they had Joey Badass on the show as a guest, and they got into a conversation around like, you know, I guess what they were mainly talking about was people who are established in a particular space or industry
Mm-hmm.
wanting to hold on to their position, and in lieu of doing that, they gatekeep and they try to keep other people out so that they can maintain their position as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically an old school versus new school type of mentality. You know, you got a lot of people from newer generations saying, you know, let the young people in, let new stuff in. We all got enough room. It's enough room for everybody. It's enough money to be made for everybody. So stop being greedy and gatekeeping at the top. And I guess what Gilly was saying was, what Gilly is saying is, you know, I'm a self-preservationist. I'm out for trying to maintain my position for as long as possible because I'm looking out for myself and my position and my career and what I do. It's not necessarily my responsibility to look out for the next generation. Y'all can figure that out for yourselves. And, you know, Joey was basically, you know, checking him on that, saying, you know, we all in this together and it should be about brotherhood and everybody eating and making money together. So it's an interesting exchange. A lot of people in the comments, from what I am seeing, are dunking on Gilly the Kid with this and are siding with Joey Badass. But here is that exchange, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
If I'm an OG, right, and we all work different, and I see that young is that. I know that he's more in tune with the culture right now. Everything around the board. He young, he got me beat everywhere around the board. That young gotta come take my job. I can't put that young in position to get me out the way, and now I'm running around, can't feed my family. I
think it's too much money out here for all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's only a certain amount of positions that's right there.
Now you're right.
What I'm saying.
You're right.
You feel what I'm saying?
You're right though. But at the same time, it's like, when are we going to shift from the individual mindset to the collective one? You know what I'm saying? Because what you just said is that go deeper than rap. That's just how we are as a culture, as people. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's all me and mine, and it's like, you know, it's not enough for the collective idea of us. Like, where do we want to see this go in 20 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, and even still, it's like, just because you share your light or you shine your light on somebody else who's coming up or who might be more hungry, that don't mean that you necessarily you compromise your position. No, you know what I mean? I think that's just been the historical approach.
I mean, I can't really knock nobody for working hard, placing themselves in a position to feed their family.
No, I agree. I would never knock nobody for that.
Bring them up in themselves to replace them, that they know. I know this. I can't knock nobody for not doing that. Now I knock you for hating on them. If the company see that he's great and they trying to bring him in, and now you can't hate on the nigga. Like, how they got me? He better than me. I might got to go get a new position.
I'm built different, man. Like, you know, I think that's all ego. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's all insecurity too. You know what I'm saying? People
you know what I think though?
Their positions is compromised because they see talent in somebody else.
No, I'm not saying that that's always the case, because that same person could see talent in a bunch of motherfuckers and hire him, but that talent ain't threatening to my job.
All right, there you go. So there was a dichotomy in that conversation. kind of seems like the opposite sides of self-preservation versus collective. But yeah, most of the people are dunking on Gilly, and they're engaging in ageism, dare I say, talking about saying that this is an old people thing, this is an old school thing, and the old ways need to die, and that's why y'all old heads need to go sit down somewhere. Always trying to keep the young people out. What do you think? You think Gilly had a point? Are you with Joey on this? Where do you land on that?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I enjoy. I agree with Sir Joey here. Now, I don't believe this is a old head thing, even though old heads do this. But what old heads do this? So Gilly came from. He's a product of the industry where they create artificial scarcity and limited positions where there's only allowed a handful of people at the top, and that is bottlenecked by all of these major recording labels as far as music is concerned for Gilly. So he came up in an era where if you want to make it at the top, you can't allow competition to surpass you. So if you do see somebody that is just as talented than you or more talented than you, younger, and all this other stuff that he was mentioning, that guy is a threat to those limited seats at the top. So he came from an era where that's a thing. So not everybody that was in Gilly's cohort thinks that way. That's a product of people who were in that industry and who agrees with that ideology. Yeah, they're like that. So I agree with the young people in the comment section saying that, hey, whatever. But there's young people right now that's Joey's age, because there's still an artificial scarcity going on in the industry. And that there's some people right now that are Joey's age practicing exactly what Gilly just talked about. So this is a product of the industries that are created for these celebrities, But you'll also see this transposed in corporate America, because again, there's limited positions at the top.
Well, I think that corporate America and the entertainment industry is one and the same.
Absolutely, they operate now. That there's Diddler escapades in one, but in the other, there's the kiss ass escapade.
Yeah, talking about the business aspect of it.
Yeah,
to me,
yeah.
it's one and the same.
Yeah.
I don't separate those two. I think they're the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
so in that corporate field, so I've been in spots, just working jobs, and I came across people that were threatened by me, and they didn't care for my talent, but then there was other people that was like, hey man, you got it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, you got it. Hey man, why didn't you get this position? And I said, well, I'm being gatekept. I'm being gatekept. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. I was like, listen, I'm not brown nosing anybody, bro. I got to this position because I'm talented, and I'll get to the next one because I'm talented. I'm not going to sit here and blasey spleeze and kiss your ass to make you feel better just so I can get it. And I'm not doing that. And so, yeah, it'd be like that in regular jobs. So I'm pretty sure like it's that way in other areas where people have this scarcity mindset but that's what speaks to what Joey was talking about, where are we going to move away from this individualistic self-preservation thing to a more communal way of thinking about how to elevate each other. All right. So everybody loves to talk about, oh yeah, that's the crabs in a barrel mentality. It's like, yeah, it is. All right. And so these entities that are hiring people, putting people in position, they create the conditions of the bucket. They create the conditions of having so many crabs in that bucket. So at some point, people have to realize that, hey, I don't have to live in these conditions. I don't have to do what everybody else is saying. The way that this bucket here is basically individualism. And I choose not to live that way. And so it's going to have to take a paradigm shift culturally for people to not buy into these systems that are already created. Because these systems that are created that people are just a part of and just going along to get along, these are the ones that are honestly that are causing a detrimental effect in our society. And so I think living more communal and having a more communal mindset, it would help alleviate these things. And then people won't have Gilly's mindset. Last thing I'll say is that you do have to have some level of self-confidence in yourself to say, even though this guy's talented, he still can't do what I do. And there will always be a space for me no matter what. I have to continue to reinvent myself. I can't stay stagnant. Laissez please. You know, if you got this far from the sauce that you created, but you find out that somebody has a better taste in sauce than yours for whatever reason, all right, you had what it takes to have the best selling sauce in the first place. You can recreate that again. So you have to be able to have that self-confidence in yourself, even in the competitive market. But I agree with Joey Badass here, but I don't think this is just relegated to young heads. I think that this is a system that is going on of individualism within corporate America and all of these competing fields where people feel as though they have to gatekeep in order to keep themselves at the top.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts, man, on what Gilly the Kid had to say as far as not letting the youngins shine because they might take a spot and Joey Badass disagreeing? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I largely hear where you're coming from. But here's what I will say. Now, this isn't what Gilly the Kid was talking about. What Gilly the Kid was saying was, even when I see someone coming up who has the eye of the tiger, who has the talent and the ability and the spirit, I'm still going to be looking out for myself and engaging in self-preservationism to not let that person in because I want to keep my position for as long as possible. So that was Gilly's position. But what I will say is there are people in the world who, and I tend to be of this mindset myself, full disclosure, who think that gatekeeping isn't an issue if it is done so in the spirit of preserving quality. So just to bring it to just to kind of center it into a conversation around music, for example, because that's the world that these two guys come from. I'm not so much offended by the advent of gatekeeping if that gatekeeping is done in the spirit of limiting the amount of trash and sewage that gets made and produced. So my whole thing is, if there's an up and coming crop of talent doing fly stuff, making fly things, producing fly things, you got to be more communal when it comes to. Yeah, I agree with the sentiment of community overall. And just look at music. There are so many rappers. Just look at rap music specifically. There were so many rappers that coming up during my generation wouldn't have stood a chance if they went by themselves. But because they were part of a larger collective, they sustained a longer career. I can't tell you how many rappers that were members of Dipset or State Property that I actually listened to for an extended period of time because they were a part of Dipset and State Property.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not listening to Young Chris by himself. I'm not listening to Young Neef by himself. I'm not listening to Oskino and Sparks by themselves. I'm not listening to Freaky Zeke by himself.
Hell no. Nah.
I'm not listening. Speaking of last week, I'm not listening to Jim Jones by himself.
Not even close.
But,
I'll listen to who else by himself though.
Right, but put Jim Jones on one of those Diplomatic Immunity albums when it's all of them together.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're just talking strictly about music, there really is no argument that's viable against the idea of doing things as a collective.
Mm-hmm.
There is, though, in my opinion, an argument of gatekeeping when it comes to trying to safeguard quality in art. And I think that if you're doing it along those grounds, I think you have to do it in a tactful, respectful way. But I think if done correctly, I see no problem with trying to safeguard quality. Because while I do agree that there needs to be more of a collective approach to bringing each other up along the road to success, I would be remiss if I did not bring up the fact that there seems to be a gradual diminishing of quality in art over time. And I don't think that we need to accept a diminishment of quality of art in lieu of everybody having a chance to eat. I think that we can succeed in preserving quality while also giving everybody a chance. So that'll be my whole 2 cents on that. So yeah, I hear people who are coming for Gilly on that, because what Gilly was saying was, even if you got the sauce, I'm still going to try to keep you out because I want to stay at the top.
Right.
And my whole thing is, don't gatekeep the people who got, don't gatekeep against the people who got the sauce.
Correct.
But I am somewhat in favor, if I'm being honest, of gatekeeping against those who don't have the sauce and would otherwise contribute to the degradation of quality in art.
Now, see, now I agree with that, but here now, even given that point, now take this on.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Now, so what would end up happening is, let's say that and we'll stick in the realm of music, but also with sauce and foods, condiments.
Okay.
All right. So if somebody has a sauce that's been, crushing it at all of these fairs, and they go to this place and they've won top prize for the last 5 years for having the best sauce, but there's this young and up and coming person that's really crushing it. All right. And that young and up and coming person actually wins, not once, but twice, 2 years in a row, after this 5-time champion over here. That 5-time champion has two choices to make. All right. They can either A, fold and just say, I'm happy in being number 2, or 2, come back better with a better sauce that crushes that other guy's. And what ends up happening is we have a higher tier of sauces being created now, because the competition is so elite at the top. Now imagine if there was some type of gatekeeping mechanism where this 5-time champion had a say, because he's on some board and he's not going to let this new sauce guy come in there. What's going to end up happening is that 5-time champion is going to be a 7-time champion, and nobody ever got that new sauce that 5-time champion had to create to beat the younger guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is gatekeeping. What it does is it's no different than water, because water, when it flows, it's alive. But what gatekeeping does is it kind of dams it off, and now that water becomes stagnant and stale. So what end up happening in the industry is not the best people made it to the top. The people who made it to the top were the people that went to the freak offs. So we've been missing out on great quality music because there's some talented people that wasn't willing to bust it open. So gatekeeping, what it has done, at least in the music industry, in my opinion, is it has made art what it has become now. I think everything that we talked about in the last topic, video games and all this other stuff, these are the products of gatekeeping. These are people that are fat cats at the top that won't come off their spot. A la EA Sports coming out and owning the rights to all of the NFL games. Madden is trash. So, but if there was competition out there, Madden would have been had to step their game up, and they wouldn't be trying to introduce stuff that they deprecated 5 years ago and call it a new feature. They wouldn't be able to get away with that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't think I was saying anything that goes counter to that. I agree with all of that. Yeah, I was just mainly talking about
the overall idea of, if this guy sucks, don't let him in.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the 5-time champion, right? If the 5-time champion is the 5-time champion, and then there's an up and coming person who wants to get into the competition, but that up and coming person legitimately is not good at sauce making. The sauce is terrible. It tastes bad. It's terrible sauce. So this person either needs to improve themselves or figure out what they do best, because sauce making just might not be the thing for you. So I'm talking about objectively poor quality.
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
I was speaking towards. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm locked in step with you 100% on the
Okay.
negative ramifications of gatekeeping. One, I'm just talking about things that truly are bad.
No.
And what I am not necessarily in favor of is let's let bad stuff have a chance to. Like I kind of feel like bad things. Like if you are a producer or an engineer or an artist if you draw or if you paint, like a part of that community aspect of uplifting is what you just explained. I
Mhm.
need to make sure that I am staying on top of my game by being able to one up the next person who's doing this, and then that person can one up the next person, that person can one up the next person, so on and so forth. Gatekeeping prevents that because
Mhm.
there's just one person or two people or a select few at the top, and no one gets the chance to show what they can do. Thus,
Correct.
it kills the spirit of competition because now you can't improve. Thus, improvement of the medium overall disappears.
Correct.
So I 100% get that for sure,
Mhm.
but there's a difference to me, in my opinion,
Mhm.
between that and us being able to evaluate something that's like not very good, but because we want to live in a rainbows and unicorns world where everyone gets a participation trophy, we should
Nah,
let that thing in to dilute quality.
nah, I agree with
That is
that.
what I'm like. And look, we can get into the semantics of it because maybe gatekeeping isn't necessarily the word for that because
Fair.
gatekeeping kind of has a negative connotation. But
Mhm.
whatever word we want to associate with the practice of preserving quality
Mhm.
is what I'm in favor of.
Yeah, quality control, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Quality.
QA, quality assurance,
Yeah,
quality
man.
assurance.
Now, quality assurance needs to be part of the community. And if there's a thing where it's like, hey, bro, you're trash objectively, then yeah, that's one thing, man. But I hear what you're saying. But to speak to Gilly's point, where he was basically just being that person that was 5-time champion and said, this new guy is going to blow me out of the water. So through technicality, since I'm on the board, I'm gonna make sure he gets
Yeah,
disqualified.
that's that BS.
That's some
Yeah,
sucker stuff, bro.
yeah, it
You know what I'm
is.
saying?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so Gilly, but yeah, man, he's a product of that era and a product of that system, man. So of course, I'm surprised he said it out loud. And but yeah, man, Joey, even though he was born in like 94 or something like that, he has a real old head mentality, real 80s mentality, man. So I'm glad he was able to speak up on that and give the young people something to talk about instead of just calling, maybe, I don't know, even though the comment section was pretty much calling him a old head hater.
They
Uh,
were. Yeah.
but this conversation was a lot more nuanced. So yeah, man, I really think that this is a discussion that does, like Joey said, this is bigger than rap. This transcends, and people need to get out of that scarcity mindset that's artificial, and
Yeah.
they need to get more of into a communal mindset to enhance quality. I would say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, this kind of relates to previous topics when I've talked about, you know, our slavish devotion to money. When we have made money, God in the West, it's a mad hat race. And there's an illusion of a scarcity of money that has
Mhm.
been perpetuated, I would say, by American consumerism, which has convinced people that there is only but so many pieces of the pie, and
Mhm.
so it's damn everybody else. I need to make sure I secure my own.
Mhm.
And I do agree with you that that's the wrong way to look at the world. And objectively speaking, like I said, even if you look at music, so many of these artists that, like, it's hard to sustain something on your own.
Yeah.
Everybody has an infrastructure that supports them, and more often than not you see people who are marginal at best succeed and have long careers because they were a part of a collective unit. The biggest example of this is in sports, especially team sports. Individual sports, no, you don't see this, because in individual sports, if you can't get it done, you're not going to be successful.
Mhm.
But in team sports, you know how many role play, like, look at, okay, my Miami Heat. A shot, by the way, Duncan Robinson is going to I don't know if you saw this, but Duncan Robinson is signing a new deal with the Pistons, I think. So
Oh,
Duncan's gone. Yeah,
that's a little
Duncan.
low.
Yeah,
But that's interesting.
but you look at a guy like Duncan Robinson on his own talent wise in a vacuum. Is Duncan Robinson a $90 million player?
No, not
Of
even.
course not. But being a part of a collective at the Miami Heat as an organization, he kind of made himself, for better or for worse, into a $90 million player.
Mhm.
You know, so obviously, the collective mindset is the superior one. But I agree with you; it is definitely a form of psychosis, and it's one that we do have to break away from for sure. But I will stand firm on my stance, though, that I do think that there is a delicate balance to be stricken between eliminating gatekeeping at all costs, but also preserving quality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not for participation trophy stuff. I'm not for that. I still think that competition does drive excellence in people, but at the same time, there needs to be better sportsmanship.
There you go. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Uh,
Very good. Hey man, shouts out to Tyler Durden who's in the chat going crazy with some good comments, man. But
oh yeah,
yeah,
Fight Club, man.
he agrees with us. He agrees with us on well, I don't know if he agrees with us, but he's intimating that collectivism is much better than individuality. So
Agreed,
yeah.
agreed. Tyler Durden.
Yeah. Also, shouts out to the brother McCall who was on the chat. I don't know if you're still here, but he was here earlier.
Yeah, I saw D the MC. What up, big dog?
Yeah, he in the building. And now we got Kyrie Irving, a guy who is I've done a complete 180 on Kyrie Irving from a few years ago. Kyrie Irving is my guy. Get well soon, man. I hope he comes back 100% from that torn ACL. But Kyrie Irving is donating or pledging $50,000 to a youth center that is being developed in honor of Tamir Rice, who was slain back in, what was this, 2010 when this happened? No, in 2014. Yeah, 2014. So this says Kyrie Irving donates $50K toward a center that honors Tamir Rice and aims to empower children through education and arts. Kyrie Irving, Dallas Mavericks point guard, has donated to support the construction of a center that will educate the youth. There is an active GoFundMe that was launched to commemorate the legacy of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old black boy who was shot and killed by Timothy Lehman, a white police officer in 2014 at the Cudell Park Recreation Center in Cleveland. The child had been playing with a toy black airsoft pistol with a removable magazine at the time, a news release reports. Samira Rice, Tamir's mother, has made the GoFundMe to raise funds in support of a new center in his honor to empower the youth through arts and education, notes Complex. She's asking for $23 donations to commemorate what would have been Tamir's 23rd birthday. The project has a $110,000 target and has already raised $92,717 at the time of this writing. With over 1,000 people contributing, Irving made a significant donation towards the project, committing $50,000. I miss my son so much each and every day. As our family approached Tamir's 23rd birthday, I'm asking for $23 for 23 years without him. I purchased a building in the city of Cleveland to give back to our inner city youth with art and cultural developments. I have already invested into this beautiful historical building with you all support. The help you all already have given Tamir's legacy, we are forever appreciative. We now have new team to help us follow this through. I'm almost finished. I will not let my community down or anyone who believe in the vision. Trust me, you will see the results. Our website is under construction at the moment. So let's skip down to never mind. So that's pretty much it. She continued, we must invest in our children and communities to educate and teach our children is our duty. Our children need a safe space for them to be able to express themselves through arts and culture. So there is an Instagram post on this to the left there. So yeah, man, Kyrie donating $50K to this youth center in Tamir Rice's honor. What do you think about that, bro?
I mean, I think that this is, and I'm glad you swapped sides, man.
Well, I've never been anti Kyrie, but for a period of time, I took issue with some of the things that he said publicly.
For
But
sure, for
that
sure.
was a while ago.
Yeah, man, that was like 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
that was a while ago. But yeah, man, but Kyrie has been doing a great job. So of course I love this. Kyrie has been doing a great job as far as being a beacon of what other athletes should be doing. Um, of course, black guys, but hell, any athlete. He's the only athlete that I've seen that go on these GoFundMe situations and just start donating tens of thousands of dollars. So he'll not making any announcements himself. He'll just go in there and then they'll just drop 15K on somebody because they got something going on over here. So it's not always because of police brutality or nothing crazy like that, but he'll go there with it. But he'll go there for any foundation that he feels as though that will help build the community that other people are out there doing, and they need that jump start. There was this one dude about, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and he was posting some stuff about how he had a GoFundMe on there, and he was trying to create this institution that does like research on stuff on like slavery and other things. And he was a historian person himself, but he needed capital and stuff like that to try to start this foundation thing from the ground up. And he had a GoFundMe out there. He doesn't know Kyrie at all, and Kyrie donated something dumb, and it was I think over 10,000. It was something dumb like that. And so Kyrie has a reputation of being somebody that is, using his income or that money that these athletes do donate anyway to certain things, but he's not donating to the Red Cross or donating to this thing over there. He's doing it to the average, everyday, boots on the ground, grassroots person that is really saying that they're trying to get this foundation off the ground. And I think that is very commendable. So if there are any other athletes out there that, have some type of thing that, they want to give back to the community, I feel like this is an awesome way to do it. And yeah, those other foundations, if you want to get a cancer research, I ain't going to sit here and stop you. But if there's somebody out here and you always talk about you want your community to be better, but you see somebody out there that's really, got a business plan and a vision for actually making a community in, Maryland better, and you see that, and, this person's really serious about it, cut them a check for 20K. It might change that entire community. So, yeah, man, I'm all for this. I commend Kyrie for this. He's been doing this for years now. I didn't even know he was still up to it until a couple weeks ago, and then I came across this. So, yeah, man, shouts out to Kyrie, man, trying to make the world a better place and leading by example. But what are your thoughts, man, on Kyrie Irving out here dropping, what's that, 50K?
50, yeah.
Yeah, 50K on this foundation, bro. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Kyrie is a genuinely good guy. Kyrie is the opposite of a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Kyrie is always bigging up, helping out, speaking up for somebody. I remember this past season after he got hurt, of course, when Carl Anthony Towns was getting
That's right.
Carl Anthony Towns was getting memed online for
Rightfully so, by the way.
so Cat was getting memed online for saying something that he said or the way he said it.
Yeah.
He was basically getting the Russell Wilson treatment. And and Kyrie was one of the people who said during one of his streams, like, hey man, lay off Cat, man. That's my brother. We all are unique in how we do things, and so just let him live and leave him alone. You never know what people going through, so on and so forth. And he genuinely means that. Like, Kyrie is one of those people who strikes me as an individual who genuinely wants to see people happy. And I respect that about him. And I also, of course, respect this move. I would actually say, your donation dollars are poorly spent donating to these institutions and to research and blah blah blah. Because I mean, where is that money going? How is being taxed? Is being funneled into this, sent into that. It goes into this think tank. Who's getting paid off of that? Right. I'm not, and we still don't have a cure to this day. So I'm off of that. Right. I'm off of that. I don't give a damn. Don't donate your money to that stuff. I don't care. You can at me if you don't like it. But stuff like this, like you said, grassroots advocacy, community engagement type stuff, I'm definitely a fan for that. There was somebody we talked about recently developing like a community center or something that was specifically meant to put Black and brown people, disenfranchised people in position to learn STEM applications. I forget who it was, but I was in favor because you know how I am. Future economies, future markets, things are very volatile. I don't know what is going to, I used to say STEM applications for the most part were all future proof. Now I don't know. I don't know what AI is going to look like. I don't know. But at least the effort to put people in disenfranchised communities in positions to be market proof or recession proof is something that I am in favor of. I am holistically against funneling people into the modern day slavery system of regular gainful employment. Speaking from the standpoint of someone who himself is actively in that hamster wheel and trying to get out of it, that is not the way that you funnel. That is not a system that you want to funnel people into. I firmly believe that. And so youth centers, education centers, things that are privately funded by people with the idea of purposefully putting applications in place to teach people the kind of skills that they need to be removed from these various modern systems of control, I'm very much in favor of. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the Rice Center. I don't know the kind of curriculum, the kind of programs that they're going to be doing. But it says culture and arts or whatever it was. Hopefully they are also, creating inroads for some of the people in these communities to learn hard skills that can remove them from modern systems of control, which I don't think Kyrie would put his money behind anything that wasn't doing that. So from that standpoint, I'm 100% in favor of this. I have been pretty much in favor of the vast majority of the moves that Kyrie has made, specifically with respect to the things that he puts his money behind, and this is no exception.
Yeah, man. And like I said, bro, I really feel as though more athletes, or just honestly the average everyday person, should really look into themselves. You don't have to give 50,000, but that 50 spot that you was gonna blow at the movies and Applebee's,
or donate to the Red Cross. Yeah.
Or donate to the Red Cross. Hey man, I'm not trying to get canceled out.
Whatever, bro. I don't care. I don't care. Where is it going? Somebody tell me where it's going.
Nah, man, for sure, bro. Because what's that lady name? We had covered up way back in the day. Damn, I can't forget. I can't remember. But Black Lives Matter girl.
Colors.
Patrice Colors.
Like that.
Patrice Colors out here buying mansions and stuff. You buying mansions with my 50s piece? I might as well have went to the movies and down at Applebee's with my old lady. You know what I'm saying? So, hey man, I blow $20 on dumb stuff sometimes, man. So this calls out the average everyday person. So giving money wherever you can for these people's foundations. I think that's a good way to do that communal type of thing that we were talking about in the last topic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. And who knows what these people are going to do with the money? As you mentioned, who knows if it's going to get mismanaged? Who knows if it's going to go on somebody's gas tank? The premise behind it all, I still think as though that, taking a little bit from yourself and tithing a little bit. And, putting some money into this and putting some money into that and seeing the change that you want to see, or at least believing in it enough to take some money out your hard-earned money to put it into somebody else. I think that's still a good premise. So, not even all athletes, man. The average everyday person, if you got a little bit, give a little bit. So I'm not gonna sit here and just talk this, man. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna start doing my own little GoFundMe things, man. Because as I mentioned, bro, I'll blow $10 on some dumb stuff.
Yeah.
So I can get at $10 to somebody, you know, that's trying to actually do a foundation for the youths out here. Why not? So yeah, man, shouts out to Kyrie, man, leading by example and showing the people how to do things instead of always barking about it. So right on with that.
Yeah, yeah. The publics that I go to, because I mainly do well, no, not really. I go grocery shopping twice a week, once in the middle of the week and once on the weekend.
Mm.
And pretty much every time I go on the weekend, there's youth groups asking for donations. And it can get a little taxing, if every single week I'm
Yeah,
going to the grocery store and it's like another youth group and they asking for money, but I do it anyway. First of all, hoping that it actually does go to the group and that parents or caregivers aren't taking the money and having a little fun with it while also putting a little bit into the, because it's usually like it'll usually be like a Girl Scout troop, or like last week it was a girls softball team.
yeah.
So stuff like that, it's sports, which in the grand scheme of things, sports, how important is it really? It depends on your perspective. But still, like, giving, I feel compelled to donate in those circumstances because I feel as though I'm doing my part to contribute to, putting kids in a position to learn intrinsic skills that make them better people.
Yeah.
And I do think that sports is a vehicle to do that. And so
100%.
and then I grew up playing sports as well.
And you learned a lot from playing sports.
Correct. Yeah. I learned a lot about who I am as a person through that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those youth groups, I give every single week, bro. And sometimes I don't want to do it, but I kind of do it because of the bigger picture behind what it represents. So I do think that a lot of the smaller grassroots type initiatives are things that people should pay attention to, as opposed to a lot of the traditional BS corporate initiatives, Greenpeace, ASPCA, you know what I'm saying? Any of this other stuff, bro. I mentioned Red Cross Cancer Research, St. Jude's, all of this stuff, where they're going to put the sad commercials on to appeal to you, appealing to your emotion. And it's like, yeah, they're probably doing good work, but these things they've been going on for so long. And they get so many donations per year, yet we're still in the same place that we're in terms of yielding any sort of tangible result from any of this research. So, I just choose to allocate some of my funds elsewhere. So I get this, man. And shouts out to Kyrie. This is the first segment that we have done tonight where we can say shouts out to whoever it is that we were talking about.
And genuinely mean it.
Yeah, get well, Kyrie, man. I hope that boy come back. He said he said that his goal is to be back in January. I don't see that happening, but shouts out to him for trying to speak it into existence. But
yeah,
that torn ACL, man, that's a year-long injury usually.
Yeah, even though it's the All-Star break's probably a few weeks after that, I'll just push it to on the second half of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Get well, Kyrie.
Skr.
And last but not least, we have more ongoing commentary surrounding Beyonce and country music. This time coming from a staple in the country music genre. This gentleman goes by the name of what's this guy's name again?
It's a hell of a problem.
This guy's what is this guy's name? He's a country music artist. He goes by the name of Gavin Adcock. Gavin Adcock. So any country music fans out there, y'all, I'm guessing y'all know who this guy is, but this guy, he's coming for Beyonce, and he is not here for Beyonce being a part of country music. He does not like the fact that Beyonce is receiving so many accolades and credit within the genre of country music when there are so many country music artists who have devoted their entire lives and careers to this, and they aren't getting nearly the amount of recognition and shine that she is getting for basically showing up yesterday. So I might need to let me refresh this page because that video won't play if I try to click on it again because I already played it once before. So this says country artist Gavin Adcock calls out Beyonce over Cowboy Carter and labels it as inauthentic country music. Beyonce tends to be one of the most polarizing musicians year in and year out, and this year was no exception. Some people, including a healthy number of country music fans, were irate over her bluegrass/country record Cowboy Carter. Not only did it take Album of the Year at the Grammys, but she also won the Country Album of the Year category. This caused many to respond with great negativity and question just how authentic the record was to the genre. These days, though, the term genre is a lot looser than what it used to be, with so many artists shattering molds every other day, it seems. The album controversially went without a single nomination at the Academy of Country Music Awards as well. But even without that recognition, the album is still performing well on streaming services and hanging on chart-wise too. Per a screenshot from the Neighborhood Talk, Cowboy Carter remains a top 3 album on Apple Music. This is grinding the gears of country singer Gavin Adcock. He was also caught by the outlet going off on B at a recent show. In the clip, he claims that he's coming for her effing arse on said chart. That resulted in plenty of cheers from the crowd. So I'm not going to read the quotes because I'll just play this what he said. He did make it clear that he remembers Beyonce's Super Bowl halftime show being kick-ass and that he's listened to a lot of her material, but that doesn't mean he's not upset about how an artist like him, who's dedicated their whole life to the genre, have to compete with her on the charts. It will be interesting to see if and when she reacts, but she's too busy right now at the moment. Beyonce is in the midst of wrapping up the album's tour as 8 shows remain. Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Las Vegas are the last markets she was to hit up. So here is this guy, Gavin Adcock, talking about Beyonce as he holds what appears to be a bottle of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey.
Of course.
I've spent enough time at Florida State as a student to know what a bottle of Jack Daniels looks like.
Yes.
So here is Mr. Adcock.
Me on the Apple Music country charts, and one of them's Beyonce. You can tell her we're coming for her fucking ass. That shit ain't country music, and it ain't ever been country music, and it ain't gonna be country music. We're about to play awesome.
And then he actually responded to that. So here's him responding to that.
I'm going to go ahead and clear this up. When I was a little kid, my mama was blasting some Beyonce in the car. I've heard a ton of Beyonce songs. And I actually remember her Super Bowl halftime show being pretty kick-ass back in the day. But I really don't believe that her album should be labeled as country music. It doesn't sound country. It doesn't feel country. And I just don't think that people that have dedicated their whole lives to this genre and this lifestyle should have to compete or watch that album just stay at the top just because she's Beyonce.
Oh, right. So there's Mr. Adcock saying his piece.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. Hey, floor is yours, man. You think he has a point?
I mean, yeah, in his own world, I mean, he has a point there, man. But when you're dealing with, listen, man, I thought this thing was gonna flop. I thought this was gonna be, Lil Wayne when he made a rock album. But she's out here winning awards. They're saying she's out at the top of the streams and stuff like that, which is astonishing to me. But should it be? We're dealing with Beyonce here. So when you're in the music game, it's a popularity contest. So if she's able to cross over into a whole nother area and bring her people with her, or whatever the hell's going on with this, she's going to take your awards at y'all shows, because what are they going to do? Not give it to the most popular person? Like, well, why wouldn't they do that? So, yeah, man, I thought this was going to just straight fall on its face. When I heard it, I was like, what is this? To Mr. Adcock's point. Okay, it didn't sound anything like country to me. It didn't give me that country feel. But hey, man, sometimes people's music, even though of course it's historically black, all right, the country feel that he's talking about, all right, has been something that has been used quite a bit in a particular type of community and sound. And you know, the what he grew up on and stuff like that, and not a part of the culture, is what he's talking about, holding a bottle of Jack Daniels, you know, and you know, talking about your sorrows and stuff, and hair blowing in the wind while you're on a back road with your lady, you know, that type of stuff. And so that's what he's used to, and that's what he associates with country, and it has nothing to do with what Beyonce is doing. So yeah, man, I understand that, man. When your music comes, you know, somebody comes in and starts air quote appropriating your stuff, you know, it does suck. You know, some people could call what Beyonce is doing is a form of vulturing. But hey, man, it worked for her. I did not think this was going to work, but I thought the tour was going to be a mess. But people going to that tour, man, people paying that money, man. So Beyonce is swinging and she ain't missing. Me personally, I heard the album. It was a miss for me. I thought it was a joke. I don't know who's streaming this much. I don't know who's listening to this. I'm not knocking you if you do. Honestly, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to me. But hey, man, this guy in his own world, he has a point. Everybody in that crowd has their own point. I'm not here to disagree with either side of this argument. All I think is that get used to it, man, because if she comes out with another one, bro, she's gonna sweep you guys again. Okay, man. But what are your thoughts, man, on this Gavin guy running around here throwing shots at Beyonce, saying that ain't real country music? What are your thoughts, bro?
I hear where he's coming from, but yeah, as you said, he better get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And really, he might want to change his tune and try to figure out if he can collaborate with her.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You better off.
You're not going to be anti on this and come out on top. It's just not going to work out for you in that way. And look, this isn't the first example of this. This happens all the time when a thing has been in existence for a while and it has a dedicated hardcore fan. And then it receives some sort of a jolt of electricity. And now you have all of this new attention. And what ends up happening is the people who've been there rebuke the new attention. They don't like it. They want to remain insular. They don't like all the outside noise. They don't like all the newfound attention, the newfound appreciation. They don't want it. They like it for all. They want it to just go away so that they can remain huddled up in their little hole of obscurity where they're the only ones who get to enjoy their little thing that they've always enjoyed. The WNBA is dealing with this as we speak.
And that's so weird with that too.
It is weird because they spent 20 years complaining. They spent 20 years complaining that the world, that y'all hate women and the world is sexist and y'all don't pay no attention to us. Now y'all are getting all of this attention and you hate it. And to me, I don't want to get on a tangent talking about the WNBA, but if there is anybody at this point who with a straight face is going to argue that the players in the WNBA are not envious or have an issue with Caitlin Clark, you're fooling yourself. These women do not like her, okay? And it is very obvious. All you got to do is watch the games and hear how they comment on it. All right, it is very clear that they resent what she has done for the WNBA. Clearly. But this is happening right now with the WNBA as we speak. For 20 years, it was a marginal league that year over year was in the red, lost money, and there used to be a team down here. It folded. Why? Nobody cared. Remember the Miami Soul?
Yeah,
That-
yeah, yeah.
So that was happening all the time. There were teams that they would try and then they would fail. It's a team that continues to be subsidized by the NBA. It continues to not be revenue generating up to this point, even though it has more notoriety. But Caitlin Clark shows up. She gives it a jolt of electricity. Now all of a sudden, these gatekeepers, quote unquote, to go back to a previous theme, all of these gatekeepers who are pearl clutching the NBA because they've been watching it for forever. Now they want to act like they don't like all the attention, even though that's the thing that they've been complaining about.
And they're slandering me.
They are.
I'm sitting there watching. I'm trying to get in there. And slandering me, calling me a noob and all this other stuff.
Yeah, they want you to go away. Yeah. Same thing happened in golf. Golf used to be the whitest, most gate-kept sport of them all. Tiger Woods showed up, brought mainstream appeal, and brought non-white eyes to the TV screen. And all of a sudden, you get these weirdo purists who are golf enthusiasts who are complaining because golf is getting attention. Same thing happens in entertainment. When Lord of the Rings came out as a movie and all of a sudden there were all of these new fans, you got these weirdo fanboys who have read all the books up and down and can quote every line, complaining because there's differences between the movies and the books are so much better and you guys suck, get out of here and leave us alone so that we can continue to enjoy our Lord of the Rings. Weirdos. Same thing happened with Harry Potter. Same dynamic as Lord of the Rings. The same thing happened. This happens all over the place. And now it's happening with country music because now you have had these ardent, dedicated people who have paid attention to and have been a part of the fabric of the music for so long. And now it is getting... And country music has always been widespread and mainstream, but this is different. And Beyonce is giving it a jolt of electricity, and they're resenting it. They resent the jolt of electricity because with Beyonce, the jolt of electricity is coming in the forms of recognition and awards and distinction. See, it's one thing for you to make money and be popular, but she's also winning awards and being recognized for Album of the Year.
Right.
So I get it. I get the resentment. Because if you've been working at this your whole life, you want to win Album of the Year. Beyonce shows up and makes something that arguably is inauthentic, juxtaposed to what you do in terms of country music, and she wins and you don't. So I get the resentment. I get it. And look, I'm on record on this channel saying that I believe Beyonce is a fly-by-night. And I think that all her fans are fly-by-night. The people who are upstreaming this album, they're not country music fans, they're Beyonce fans.
Correct.
And there's a difference. So I understand the feeling of resentment towards that dynamic. But look, man, she is a comet. She is an unmovable object. And if you intend to stand in the way of that unmovable object, you will be moved out of the way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It gives me no pleasure in saying that. I get it. You want to preserve country music. You've been doing it for a long time, and it means something to you. And to see somebody just show up overnight and get more credit in 1 year than you've been able to get in however many years you've been doing this, I get it. But she's Haley's Comet, man. So what you should probably do, Mr. Adcock, and again, I'm no Beyonce fan here, but what people in his position should probably do is collaborate with her. Because if you can't beat him,
he'll be a sellout. He'll be a sellout amongst his community, bro.
Hey, listen, man.
That's like Taylor Swift. She made a hip hop album. The streets are pissed. She winning all the awards or whatever. And then some bastard talking about some. If you can't beat her, join her.
I don't buy that. You know why I don't buy that? Because I totally see rappers collaborating. If that were to happen,
that's fair. That's true.
If that were to happen, I totally see rappers collaborate with Taylor Swift. You mean to tell me you can't see a Offset featuring Taylor Swift track? You can see that.
That's true.
You can see
them bastards already do that for free. So
you can see a Quavo featuring. You can see a Quavo featuring Taylor Swift.
Travis Scott.
Yeah. So I'm not buying that.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
true.
buying that. So yeah, bro. Like I get it. I understand how it feels, but you can't stop it. I don't have a solution to this for y'all country music fans, bro. And I don't have a solution to you, Mr. Adcock. We've already dunked on Beyonce and Beyonce fans for, how this is all transpired. We've already done that. Practically speaking, you ain't gonna be able to slow this thing down. So, bro, either accept where you are within the tapestry of this music, or figure out a way to capitalize off of it. And maybe you can get a collaboration in. Those are your only two options. I don't see any other road.
I mean, the stronghold she has on her family.
It's crazy.
It's astonishing. I thought this was such a wild gamble. I thought she was going to lose a lot of people. Her always being at the top of streams indicate that her fans are constantly playing this. And they don't have a clue what country music is, and they're still constantly streaming it because that's their girl.
Yeah.
And so hey man, at this point she can do anything she wants, low key.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She can low key do anything she wants, because to me this was such a gamble. But it didn't fall on his face as I thought it was, man. So it's not often I eat crow on this show. But yeah, man, I've been watching from the wings, and I was like, man, she won more awards for that piece of crap. That piece of crap. But hey, man, who am I? It's a popularity contest, and as I mentioned, man, these awards places, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing when they give these things out, man. And yeah, man. So I understand, and that was a good point that you made too, man. As far as like, people that's been, the diehards that's been around. It's a whole little culture going on, and then that little joke coming in out of nowhere, and it's literally almost a whole 180 from what you normally used to. And then here come all these normies. Yeah, man, and you put your whole life into drinking six packs, and you know what I'm saying, and wearing flannel vests, and then here comes this lady with all this bedazzled stuff and blinging all over the place, and I mean, just upsetting the apple cart.
Yeah, for real. She is a true disruptor. That's the definition of a disruptor.
Yeah, man. So hey, Beyonce fans, y'all win this round. I was all over y'all helmet on this. I was actually salivating at the thought of this woman flopping, but she showed me, man. And at this point, man, there's certain times, man, where I be out here hating on people. I'll just flat out say that. I'll just hate on people just because, I got reason to, but I'll hate on their ass. Yeah. But if you show me through the midst of my hating, when you show me that I can't hate on you, I gotta respect something that you're doing, then I'll go, hey man, I gotta respect that. And this, I thought this was gonna be whatever, but she, I still don't respect what she's doing, but I respect this in the sense that, oh, okay, you're not gonna flop. So yeah, she can do anything she want, man. She got this whole game in the chokehold. So and like I said, man, that tour going dumb. I mean, she's still selling out. So I thought she wasn't, but here she is. So hey man, Beehive, y'all win this round, but don't get too used to it. I will be back. Trust me. I will be back.
Yeah, no, she what how does that saying go? What happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object or something like that? Mm-hmm. I think she is both the unstoppable force and the immovable object. Like,
don't get in her way, people, man. You know what I'm saying? I can throw stones all I want, but I run behind the bushes afterwards. All right, man. So you're not gonna stop it. And the Beehive know I'm joking, man. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm joking.
Yeah, but you're right, man. Look, I feel his pain, but bro,
give it up, bro.
I say capitalize, bro. Hit her up, see if you can get on the track with her, collaborate, up your profile. Just take advantage of the environment, man, because it's either that or you'll just relegate yourself to being that complaining hermit over in the corner, whining about stuff while everybody's listening to Cowboy Carter, bro.
Yeah, it's too late for him. He needs to go ahead and just team up with Akon now. So smack that. Crazy ass.
Oh man. Hey, shouts out to Beyonce, I guess.
Yeah, man, I guess. Y'all win this round, man.
Yeah. But folks, that is it. That is another fantastic edition of the Conscious Approach stream in the books. Thanks to everybody who joined in on the chat. Shouts out to the brother McCall, original member of the team as always. Shouts out to Tyler Durden with a U. Shouts out to Shaka Harden. Thank you for joining us on the chat, man. We certainly appreciate it. And to anyone who is checking us out for the first time and you appreciate the content and the commentary, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because this is how we get down each and every week, each and every video upload. Again, I do want to reiterate that we are now available to listen to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music for anyone who wants to listen to us audio style, but is otherwise not really in position to check us out on YouTube. Also, check us out on TikTok. We now, share a lot of our content over there as well. So if you're active on that channel, go ahead and give us a shout out. Give us a follow too, man. Like the page at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. And of course, I am JV Wins. I am on Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS. Conscious Approach is also on Instagram at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. Farewell to Duncan Robinson. Good luck to you, sir. But I am not sad to see you go away. It's whatever with Duncan. But shouts out to my Heat. Hopefully we make moves, but right now it's not looking too great. Still gonna ride for my team anyway. And as I always like to say, don't be a group thinker. Think for yourself. Have a mind of your own. As always, it's one of the main mantras of us here on this channel. And until next time, until next stream, until next video, we'll see you later.
And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace, Facebook, Meta, all right, Twitter, X. What's the other one? TikTok. Hey, man, if there's a social media platform out there, Dogon_SS is out there. All right, make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, and all that good stuff in there. All right. And guys, as I always say, we greatly appreciate y'all liking, subscribing, and consciously leaving comments. All right. So we left a lot of good stuff out there, guys. So hey, man, go ahead and leave some feedback out there. And we appreciate everybody that came on the stream tonight. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, we do this every Tuesday night, man. Come chill with us, man. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got nothing else to do, bro. All right. And as I say all the time, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it plug. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until next time, guys, greatly appreciate y'all. More rings than Robert Ory. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
That's right, guys. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the follows, likes, and comments. We'll see you later. Until next time.
Peace. Hey, man. Get well soon, Beasley. God damn. Hey, man.